Alright guys, I would like to welcome you to my Season 11 Ultimate Akali Guide. For those of you that don't know, I am a formerly Challenger Akali one-trick. I've been playing Akali since she was released over 10 years ago, and I'm here to teach you guys how to play Akali like an absolute pro. By the end of this video, I can promise you that you will have all of the knowledge, tools, and resources to play Akali at least the diamond level. Doesn't matter if you are bronze or iron. Before that, you will have all the resources needed to become high elo at Akali. So guys, let's get right into it. Dude, no way. So really quick for some inspiration, I want to start off with explaining why you should play Akali. There are a few main reasons, but the absolute biggest reason is that Akali can actually 1 versus 5 games, unlike any other champion in League of Legends. She doesn't require a team, she doesn't need anyone to try and help her, set her up for combos or anything like that. She can actually kill everyone by herself thanks to all of her mobility, burst, and healing, and she doesn't even have mana. Now, the other thing I love about Akali is that you never peak in skill. Every game you play, you get better and better. Unlike champions like Warwick, where there's simply no mechanics or combos, every time you play Akali, you can further master the champion, and you are investing in a character that will pay off in the long run. Now guys, we're going to go into the basic overview of all of Akali's abilities, and then we're going to go into advanced combos, mechanics, and stuff like that later on. There are going to be timestamps to each section of this guide if you want to skip through, but without wasting any more time, let's do it. Alright guys, and now we're going to be going into each ability quickly and my interpretation of them. Basically, for your passive, all you need to know is that whenever you use an ability that does damage onto a champion, like your Q, E, or R, it makes a circle around them. You can just leave that circle to get an empowered auto attack that does bonus magic damage, and it has more range than your normal auto attack. Other than that, your Q is a cone AoE spell that hits everything for equal amounts of damage, so it doesn't matter if it's the first or whatever, and it's just going to do a good amount of damage. It costs a good amount of energy though, so you want to be using your passive procs in between that. But also another thing to mention is that the tip of your Q actually slows champions that you hit. This little area right here, it's going to slow anything at the end of the range, and you want to be trying to hit it from as close to max range as possible to make getting your passive proc easier. So you can do something like just going and then instantly backing up instead of having to be close to them, queuing, run all the way away, and then doing that. Next up, you have your Shroud, and this is good because not only does it make you invisible where you cast it, but it also gives you a bunch of energy regeneration. It gives you a little burst of movement speed, and it can be used to make some quick escapes and other things, which we will talk about later on. Now, next up we have Akali's E. This is a very strong single target spell. It attacks jungle monsters, champions, anything, minions, and what it's going to do is a very good way to kill squishy champions. It does a lot of damage, as you'll see. And you can do something like that, a very easy combo. You can also use it to attach to your Shroud, and basically you throw out the dagger and you can recast it. If you hit your Shroud or anything that you do damage to, you can recast it from literally anywhere and fly back towards that target while they're marked for the next like 2.5-3 seconds. Now finally, we have Akali's ultimate, and honestly this is mostly just going to be used to engage with, but basically all it is it is a dash. It's a targeted dash, and just like every other spell that does damage, it makes you use your passive. Second part of your ultimate is going to do execution damage, which means that the lower health they are, the more damage it will do. So right there you can see we did a ton of damage because the target was already low, which means that, you know, a classic combo would just be like work them down and then get them low, and then you finish them off with your R2. Your R2 can also be used, it's not targeted, so you can actually use it, say you're like low health over here, you want to dash out and then fly over the wall. And we're going to be going into insanely complex and really cool combos, tips, tricks, and mechanics you didn't know for abilities, but this is just the basic overview. Stay tuned for the rest. Alright guys, now let's get into the rune pages. For this season, there are simply just 2 rune pages I think that you should practice. It's going to be the Conqueror build and the Electrocute build. I don't think Fleet Footwork is good at all for solo queue. The reason pros use it, if you want to know, is because they're playing at the highest level, getting poked, and they need that extra sustain for a bunch of pro reasons that do not apply to solo queue. With that said, however, I want to go into the 2 pages that you should use. The first one is Conqueror, and the second one is Electrocute. With Conqueror, you go for a bunch of AP Bruiser items. With the Electrocute build, you go for a bunch of AP Assassin items. Now, when you should use these builds is pretty simple, but kind of confusing. Basically, when the enemy team has 2 or more high priority targets like the mid lane carry, the AD carry, or a squishy top lane carry, for example, if they have 2 or more champions that you can easily assassinate, the enemy team doesn't have too much CC or peel for them as well, then you can go for the AP Assassin build. That is going to pay off pretty well because you can just get some free picks, go for quick one-shots with your Night Harvester Electrocute build, and then try to get out. But in most situations, Conqueror is going to be better when they have 3, 4, even 5 potentially tanky champions. And the reason for that is if they have crowd control, if they don't really have any easy targets to assassinate, if you're going top lane versus a bruiser that Electrocute's just going to do like 1% of their maximum health, in those situations, it's better to understand that you're going to be doing more consistent damage, you're going to be fighting at the front line of a team fight, and in those situations, going for this Conqueror build is going to be better for long fights and less assassin playstyle. Akali can be an assassin and AAP bruiser, so you can do both at the same time, but you need to know how to build to maximize your efficiency depending on each team comp. Alright guys, so we're going to talk about starting items, then we're going to talk about the 2 builds that I go for, the Conqueror build and the Electrocute, and then we're going to go into every individual item that you might have questions as to whether or not you should build it. So first things first, we have the starting items. I personally just go Doran's Ring every single game at the start. Nothing too weird about it. I just always go Doran's Ring. It makes it very simple. You get 2 potions and a ward, obviously. And from there, once you always go for the Doran's Ring, if you want to copy me, at that point, it is just a matter of building your actual build. And for the Electrocute AP Assassin build versus a bunch of squishy champions, usually I will go for Night Harvester first with Sork Boots, and then I'll go for either a Zhonya's or a Lich Bane, or I will go Lich Bane and then Zhonya's. Past that, I will be selling my items, obviously my starter items and potions, and I'll usually go for either a Morello's or at least an Oblivion Orb if they have healing that I want to reduce, or I'll just go straight for a Void Staff if they have a bunch of magic resist. Or if they don't have any magic resist, if I'm not afraid of healing, I'll just go straight for a Rabadon's. Or if I'm very far ahead, I might get a Medjai's. Or if I want a little bit of tankiness, you can go Demonic Embrace, but because it's probably not necessary, but it's not the worst option in the world. So a full AP one-shot build would look something like this. And I'd obviously be getting a blue elixir at the end of this as well. And yeah, this is pretty much it. You have your Zhonya's for when you want to engage on them, and yeah. And then we're going to talk about the next build, which is going to be the Conqueror build. So imagine we're running that Conqueror page you saw earlier. Still going to be starting with the Doran's Ring. Past that, we're going to be going for the Riftmaker. I might go for Merc Treads or the Plated Steel Boots, Steel Caps rather, because this build is a lot more about survivability, being in that front line, taking more damage, but healing more as well. So with that in mind, it's just a mixture of sometimes Sork Boots, sometimes Mercury Treads, sometimes Plated Steel Caps. For this, I think default to Sork Boots if you're not sure. But other than that, we would be going for items like Demonic Embrace right after the Riftmaker, or a Zhonya's actually is more likely to happen. Past that, you can once again go for Void Staff if you need the magic resist, Banshee's Veil. Sorry, if you need the magic resist, Void Staff if you need the magic pen. You can also go for a Medjai's if you're ahead, Morelos for the anti-heal. I don't recommend going for Lichbane with the Riftmaker Conqueror build because Lichbane is about bursting them and no tankiness, no sustained damage, which is the opposite of what you want. And another item that I might recommend you go for is the Ravenous Hydra for a build like this instead of, say, a Banshee's Veil if you don't need that. Going for Ravenous Hydra is very good because it actually works now in Season 11. Your Cleave ability works on everything, all your spells. So it's going to give you a lot of extra damage from your spells. But more importantly, the stats, 65 AD, 20 ability haste, and 15% Omnivamp, which is just like Gunblade used to be. Omnivamp is very good for Akali, especially Conqueror healing build Akali. So you can definitely go for that. There's really no negative stat to Ravenous Hydra, so keep that in mind. Other than that, items you might potentially think about going would be something like maybe a Nashor's Tooth, but I recommend against that. Any other mythic item, I don't recommend. Divine Sunder is a potential exception because AD Bruiser Akali has its benefits of being more inherently tanky, but I think I would default to just practice the two builds that we have so you don't really like stretch yourself thin. Rocket Belt is something that some Korean one-tricks use, but once again, I don't think it's optimal. It adds a whole nother 10 layers of difficulty to the champion, whereas I don't see this lasting very long either way. I feel like it would get nerfed or changed. Other than that, just looking at this list of items, I'm seeing nothing too crazy. Death Stance can be good, but only if they have a lot of AD champions. This is a good alternative to Guardian Angel because it ignores physical damage, and if you kill them, you just don't take the damage anymore that you would be ignoring for temporarily. Past that, GA can be a good option if you want more armor, say against a full AD build. And yeah, there's really not much else to it. If they have a lot of magic damage, you can go for a Hex Drinker, Merc Treads, and a Banshees, the same old anti-mage build. And that's essentially it for the builds. I'm going to be showing you all of the Akali combos and mechanics that you probably didn't know. And if you're new to Akali, I'm going to show you everything from early game, mid game, late game, from levels 1 to 18, and new season 11 stuff as well. So let's get right into it. The first one is very obvious with your Q. You're going on a Q and then back up and then get your passive proc and swing at them. There is a variation of this to get your Electrocute off at level 1 that I've never explained before, but it's actually really good. So what you want to do is actually Q them, and don't leave your passive circle yet, but you actually want to wait until a little bit. Once you get enough energy, then you can go ahead and go in. So you're actually not taking your first passive proc, you're waiting until you get some more energy for the second Q, because then you can get the long range passive, Q, and then long range passive to get that Electrocute off. Next up, we have a few level 2 combos. You're always going to want to get E at level 2 from my experience. But the first one is obviously going to be sniping them from far away, flying in, and then, hitting them with a bunch of stuff. And then backing up, you can either passive proc, or you can actually run at them and then continue chasing them. But other than that, an alternative would be just go ahead and doing this, and then fly in, and then, run at them and then press E. That's a lot less practical. But you know what, it can happen as well. The third one and final one would be hitting them with a Q and then hitting them with an E, because hitting them with the tip of your Q does slow them and you're guaranteeing the E damage. That is something as well. Moving on to level 3, we have a bunch of variations. This is the first point in which you can actually go in for all-ins and get solo kills, but you might want to do something like start up with running at them with a Q and then go ahead and instantly do that, and then fly in, and then once they're running away towards their tower, at that point you want to throw your E towards the tower or something like that. Another alternative to that would be something like flying in with your E and then autoing them and then Qing and then using your Shroud and running with them. And because honestly, there's not a champion Akali can't beat, but if they do run away, or you don't have your complete amount of spells, you don't want to waste your Shroud, have no escapes, and then they run you down, say if it's a Darius or something like that. Next up we have level 6, and there are a few things I mentioned before, but if you want to get a fluid R into the E combo, the most important thing with playing Akali is hitting your E, because that's going to be all your single target damage for your solo kills, but you have to max range them and then press E during the animation, so you can actually fly behind them, or you can actually fly back towards safety if you want to, say you're under their tower or something like that. But a relatively standard combo, say you've set up a freeze under your tower and you want to kill them, is just ult onto them, hit your E, and then fly in, auto. And essentially that combo I just did is going to get you as many passive procs as possible. Now one more time, we're going to do it very slowly. You're going to want to ult in, press E, then run up to get your passive proc, then use your E, and then get another passive proc, you run in again. And at that point, they should be low enough to kill them, depending on who they are, unless there's some super tank, but no one is tanky enough at level 6. Now that's going to be your laning combos for the most part. There are random small things here and there, like say you're low health, you can fly in, throw your W out, use your E, and then try to get a little bit of damage off and then fly back to safety. This combo, by the way, is extremely inefficient because you're using 2 very important cooldowns just for something that's kind of flashy. I highly recommend against it almost every single time, and I mean like 49 out of 50 times. It's not the best idea, so don't do that. Anyways, let's move on. You have your mechanics. Escape mechanics for mid lane would be something like this. You get into this little crack right here, and this is something you're going to want to practice in practice tool, but you can go through both sides of it. You have other walls such as like right here and there here. You can also do walls right here and even right here, but the chickens are usually in the way of blocking you, so that's something like that. Another thing you can do with your Q is to use your Q like that and get a pretty much, you don't have to run back to get your passive proc, and right there, even I didn't do it close enough, but that is a combo right there. There's a way to glitch out the game in which you E backwards and Q them, and if you get relatively close, a game thinks that you're out of range because you're still in the middle of your E, but then you hit the Q and your passive proc activates immediately, so it'll be something like this. So you're just getting your passive proc immediately. This takes a relatively bit of practice. And another thing I want to mention is playing based off of your ping to get your passive procs off faster. So I think a lot of people would be like, they'd be pretty far towards their Q. You don't want to be like max ranging your Q because it's, if they're really fast or you mess up, you're just not going to hit the Q. But somewhere around here is a pretty safe range because, you're close enough, but you're not going to ever really miss them. But a lot of people do that. They hit their Q and then they take a while, then they like back up, and then they do this. Like, it's very slow. You have to learn to flick back and forth depending on your ping. So like you can actually start running back during the middle of your Q animation, so like this, and then you can get your passive procs off a lot faster. And this is just gonna be a lot of practice, but doing it over and over again will help you. It's something that just you get better at over time. Next thing I want to mention is that you can combo all your stuff off of your E. So when you use your E, it might be beneficial to like use like this, and then maybe even use your Shroud to get more energy for Qs off. Something like that. Another thing to mention is that you can actually use your R1 to cancel your E2. So you can actually just cancel off of this and then move on to that. And your R1 is AoE, so you can do both of them anyways. And then get a nice little like AoE bit of damage off like that. Next thing to mention is that you can actually redirect your R2 with Flash. So say you want to hit 2 enemies and then redirect onto someone, or say someone even just flashes away. You're aiming for this person, they end up flashing here. Well, you can actually do something like this where you just flash after them. And you can do that to even get a really cheeky kill. So say you want to kill this person right here, you can just actually just catch them off guard like this. And just, it's pretty much unavoidable, unflashable when you do something like that. Next thing is a little pro tip. Make sure when you jump into team fights in Season 11, if you have Night Harvester, to really just do your best job to hit everyone before you commit to assassinating someone. Akali can literally do really good AoE damage, and it's something as simple as just hitting a Q on these 2 targets, like the 2 frontliners, before you go on to the AD carry right here. Something like that isn't the biggest commitment, but it can be really useful to doing more damage overall in a fight. And the next thing I want to mention is getting back to lane faster. So something you can actually do, and say you're waiting for gold to get back to top lane, you can actually throw out your shroud really far, run back to the center, and then once you're fully healed, you can actually fly back, and this will save you 5 to 10 seconds of just, rather than waiting here and then running back to lane and then, you know, maybe eating backwards. Regardless, there's a good way to save time in the specific situations where you need to wait for gold or you want to heal up a little bit. If you want to heal up a little bit, you obviously don't want to leave the base too far. You rather want to just like throw it out and then do this and then go back to the center because you heal more in the center. Then wait. It'll take a little bit of time to practice timing it, but you'll get the hang of it and it'll save you a lot of time. Now really quick, I want to show you guys exactly what I would do if I was trying to kill someone from very far away. Say there's enemies in the way. You can actually kill someone with relatively... Now really quick, I want to show you guys how I would kill a target from far away, especially if they have a bunch of frontline in the way or supports or tanks or something like that. Well, you can actually do a few different things. You can ult through them and then go for them, but that might not be practical a lot of the time. There might be tanks and supports in the way, so something that you might want to do instead would be a max range flash ult like this into the E, and then, yeah. The R2 is going to take a little bit longer than your combo's ready, but that's actually nice because a lot of the time they end up flashing in that little delay, and then you can obviously chase right after them with your R2. Your R2 has so much room to work with that no matter where they flash, it's going to be able to catch them. We're going to be going over way more Akali tips, tricks, and mechanics in the full game commentary section. And also, if you'd like to subscribe, we do post random Akali combos and mechanic videos here and there. But for now, let's continue on to the guide. Now we're going to be doing my personal favorite way of teaching you guys how to play Akali and thinking like I do. We're going to be doing a few different clip breakdowns of different situations. I'm going to show the clip and then I'm going to explain everything I'm thinking at each individual stage of the clip. So her Ignite's down. Dude, I feel like I can kill her. Dude, no way. Alright guys, so for whatever reason in this clip, we are low health in the enemy jungle. I know that the enemy jungler is not there because we see him on the mini-map. He is top lane. There is no support to worry about. I knew the enemy mid laner used Ignite, which is huge, and I know her ult is down, the enemy Ahri, that is, the enemy mid laner. So we're going to be talking about a few different things. I know that if I try to get to the mid lane to try and get my minion wave or whatever, get my tower, whatever, try to get back to my side of the game, she's going to try and throw abilities in this little choke point. So what I'm going to do is right when it makes sense for her to throw it, right when I'm about to go into the choke point where I have to turn this corner and there's essentially almost no chance that she can miss her ability, that's exactly the point where I want to turn, and she didn't go for it the first time, but I'm going to do it again. And you can see right there, charm is down. You can pretty much play like this until Diamond 1 or higher. No one will be thinking that you're going to be juking, so I'm going to actually throw it directly to the right. No one thinks like that until stupidly high elo, so just as a default, this should almost always work, like 9 out of 10 times, if not 19 out of 20 times. So we got the charm out of the way. I know she still has her Q. I'm very low health, so I have to double sidestep this one. And this is, for now it's macro, nothing Akali related, but this is where it gets really tricky. So, now I know her E and her Q both have very, very high cooldowns relative to, you know, normal champions and normal spells. Her charm should be like, what, 15-ish seconds. Her Q is at least 10. So with that in mind, I know she doesn't have any spells up for like 10 seconds or so. So I'm feeling pretty good to go in. There's a very important thing that that I look for when I'm engaging on an enemy champion that I'm trying to kill. And especially if they're in between minions, I need them to be I need minions to not be in the way. I don't want a minion to be behind her because I always ult behind them and then I throw my E out, and I don't want to hit a minion with my E on accident. So right here, I know I'm good to go because there are no minions now. The minions are not going to be in the way when I jump on her and then throw my E, you know, directly behind her. It's going to connect every single time, and even though her Q is back up here, you can see that I will you know, I'm gonna fly right behind it anyway, so she's not able to hit it. But in this situation, I did press Q to try and clear out the wave, and I felt like if I connect my Q slow, I'm gonna hit her with the E either way. You can also do an EQ combo, but I thought QE would be a little bit better. And then at this point, we do hit our E, and now there is another important thing to talk about, and that is going to be doing as much burst as possible at once. With that in mind, so if you look at how much health she has currently, I know that I'm going to do enough damage with just my E2, like, you know, second bar of my E, my Q, and my R2. There are a few mechanics that made this kill possible. The first one is that when I fly in, I'm going to use my W. You can see I don't have enough energy to use my Q on arrival, so I actually use my W to build a little bit of extra energy, right? Because you cast it and you immediately get a burst of energy. So I do that. Now I have enough energy to use my Q. My E2 is still flying. I'm still about to connect with the Ahri and do a bunch of damage, regardless of using Shroud or not. And now I'm able to use my Q mid E2, because, you know, you can use your Q in the middle of your E2. And then the most important thing right there, in my opinion, is knowing that your R2, the second part of your ultimate, has a backwards hitbox. So you see one more time, even though I am not ulting towards her, I'm ulting back away from her tower, I still hit her with the ultimate, and I'm able to fly out of the tower's range. So even though it looks very, very dangerous, you could say, it actually was never, it was literally calculated. There was no fear on my end, unless I mess up horrifically. It's just, and here's one last takeaway, because that play probably looks pretty crazy if you're especially a beginner at Akali. It's all in the confidence of your combos. You need to just trust yourself that it's gonna work, because if you second guess at any point, if your combo is slightly slow, you know, if you mess up, if you hesitate even a little bit, you're gonna miss your E, you're gonna miss your Q, you're gonna mess something up. If you don't even don't R2 right as you are right as you are touching them with your E2, because the backwards hitbox on your R2 is not that big. You have to be like pretty much right on top of them, so the millisecond you land on your E, land with your E, if you're not being confident about it, instantly R2ing out, you're gonna fail the combo. So that is just another example of what makes the difference between a good and a great Akali player. Next example is exactly what I mean by Akali doesn't need a team to carry. Oh, I guess they're dead. Alright guys, and for this clip we have a situation where my team is essentially not useless, but close to it. It's 24-31, and I have half of the kills. My team is struggling to be relevant, and they have a very fed team. So what we want to do here is play it every millisecond by every millisecond. So you can see right here we're going in, and on this note we see that Master E gets hit by a perfect brand stun. So what we're gonna do is take that exact freaking moment opportunity to go for a combo and finish him off. We have a Night Harvester build. Master E is squishy. He does a ton of damage, but he's squishy. So we're gonna do what I know will finish him off and won't miss the spell, and that is our R1 plus our Q. We're not gonna E because there's a minion in the way. We don't even need to. The Q is guaranteed. So there we have it. We R1 and then we Q him. Now from this point, I'm now by myself in the middle of 3 extremely strong champions, one of them presumably having a charm, Ahri, other one being Vayne. I need to not die here. I don't have a Zonias. I need to hide. I go into Shroud. I also use this opportunity to reposition with more movement speed. This makes it impossible for Vayne to hit me with the E, stun me, because, you know, she doesn't have vision on me. It's very hard for Ahri to charm me. So I'm going to go ahead and just run in a position where I don't think they're ever going to think I'm going to go. I usually default to corners, but at this point, now I've had a little bit of time to reposition. I also have time for my R2 to come back up a little bit more. I'm going to go ahead and strike the Kai'Sa with my passive proc, and then I'm going to choose to E backwards only because I know that I'm way too overextended compared to my team, and I don't want to get hit by the Vayne Condemn. So I have to play this fight pretty tricky and specific. But right here, once the Condemn or the E does land, it's just a matter of cleaning everyone up because I have been given a golden ticket. I know my E2 is going to be enough to finish off the Kai'Sa, so I don't need to worry anything else about the Kai'Sa. Kai'Sa's dead when I fly into her. Now it's a matter of killing the rest. I have Night Harvester ready to go on these two targets, so what I'm going to do is mid E2 on the Kai'Sa. I'm going to press Q to burst the crap out of these two squishy champions with my Night Harvester burst, and then you can see right there I hit them, and I'm gonna have to replay this last part, but you can if you're careful, you can see I actually passive proc and I cancel most of my passive proc animation on the Vayne by using my R2. So it's kind of hard to see, but I do swing on the Vayne really quick. You can barely even see it, but you can cancel almost all of your passive proc animation with your R2. And yeah, just confidence is everything in this. I'm always paying attention not only to my aggressive decisions, but my defensive decisions. I know I need to use my E instead of just going in for a kill. I think a common mistake most people would make right there would be to just like try and press Q on this Kai'Sa and then run forward to get passive proc. But no, the only decision that is guaranteed and safe, considering I'm the entire team, is to use my E there, in my opinion. And then you get the kills. There's nothing to talk about for the Penta. It's just the Pyke essentially gave me the kill. That's pretty much it. And yeah. Alright guys, and now we're going to be talking about the early game. The early game is going to go one of two ways. You're either going to go against a champion that's ranged and pokes you out, or a champion that hard counters you, such as Kled and Pantheon, but those are pretty much the only two melee champions that counter you. But other than that, if you're going against a champion that's ranged and pokes you, you're going to have to play safe until you hit level 6. That's not always the case, because most of the time you will find situations where you're able to go in and do proper combos, as you'll see later on in this video in the full game commentary section. But in general, your playstyle should be look to get minions, because here's the thing, even if you lose lane in the first 5 levels, when you hit level 6, you are going to win. You win every single matchup. It's actually hilarious, because simply put, a good Akali can't be beaten by any champion. Her damage output is too high, her mobility, she can chase down even an Ahri if an Ahri ults away. So for those reasons, she is just very, very strong. Other than that, you should be looking for early fights to try and roam, whether or not you're against a good matchup or a bad matchup. Always be looking at the minimap to try and help your jungler, because Akali does a lot of damage. If you keep on using your spells into passive procs into spells, she actually does a lot more damage than most champions in the early levels. It's just a matter of making sure you use your passive procs properly and you don't lose too many minions trying to roam. But if you're against a champion that you win or can beat pretty easily, it's at least a 50-50, like a Katarina or Yasuo, or pretty much any melee champion. Even champions like Renekton, there's ways to beat them, and we'll have specific counter and matchup guides in the timestamps down below as well. But even in those matchups, you can beat them from levels 2 or 3 and beyond just by staying safe and using your distance, your range. Even though Akali's a melee champion, she has the range to just destroy any champion she wants. If a champion runs at her, she can press E and throw a single target shuriken at them and do a ton of damage like that. There really is no winning versus a good Akali, so keep that in mind. Every matchup has its own specific thing, but Akali can win. I think once you guys watch the full game commentary, it'll make a lot more sense. in that regard. Regardless of if you go against someone you can beat or someone you lose to early game like levels 1 through 5, when you hit level 6, everything changes. You can do something that looks like this combo to pretty much anyone. Or you can do a combo like this. All right, let's kill this guy. There are a few variations of this combo, but essentially you want to use your ultimate into your E combo to connect your E1 so that you can dash onto them wherever they go, wherever they flash, and you're also getting that single target damage from your E guaranteed to hit them when you use the R1 plus E1 combo. From there, you're using your passive procs and your Qs and your passive procs and your Qs as fast as possible to do as much damage in the time it takes between your E1 hitting and your E2 expiring, and then at that point you fly in with your E2 at the end, and then you execute them with the second part of your ultimate. But moving past the early game, once you go into the mid game, there are a few very crucial things to do if you want to be a good Akali and get super fed. The first thing you can do is to try and freeze the wave to the point where the enemy laner has to overextend, and then you have a lot of room to hit them with the combos that we talk about throughout this guide. Basically, you have a lot of room between them and the tower because they have to overextend to try and farm minions or try and push the wave, and that'll give you enough room to kill them. Or you just freeze the wave and they keep on losing minions and minions and minions, and you just gain a giant gold lead in that regard. If you're not looking to freeze the wave, if there are easy roams to go, say you're mid lane and the enemy top laner is at their turrets, just disregarding any lack of actual gameplay, then you can definitely look to shove the wave and then look for a roam. In that way, you should always either be looking to freeze the wave or shoving and roaming. Other than that, you can try to shove the wave and look for the enemy jungler and try to invade them. Maybe set up something with your jungler to go for a 2-man invade. Even a tower dive, a 4-man tower dive bot lane with your jungler and your bot lane. There are a lot of options, but I will say it is very important in the mid game that you are looking to force fights. Get them out of their turret, because Akali is one of, if not the best possible champion in mid game for winning fights. And that is also a reason why you can try and force a dragon fight, because that means that everyone is far away from their turrets. That is probably the best thing you could do, is to look for a dragon fight. Akali can also split push in the mid game, but generally it's better to team fight. But luckily she can split push as well, thanks to the help that she can tower dive people and pretty much kill anyone one-on-one in a side lane, especially if you're a fed and you know what you're doing. But moving on towards the late game, Akali has essentially one set job if she's not split pushing. Basically, if you have a Zhonya's, or even if you don't, if you're not looking to flank enemies and assassinate them with the AP assassin build, you're pretty much looking to jump in a few seconds after a team fight starts, or maybe even engage the team fight if you don't have good engage. You want to ult in to the enemy team and press your shroud. That is going to cause so much pressure on the enemy team when there is a Akali just in the middle of their entire team. Then you can obviously use a variety of combos to pop out of your shroud and try and destroy them, and then maybe fly back into your shroud once or twice to further reposition, and all these other opportunities and tips and tricks that we talk about throughout this guide and other videos. But if you're not going to be engaging and using your shroud, you're definitely going to want to be looking to flank behind them and go for picks on their backline. In general, usually you're going to be engaging by ulting in, using your shroud. You're going to be using a few aggressive spells and then using your Zhonya's when you're in danger. But the amount of time you're having the enemy team spend focused on you, the entire duration of your Shroud, the entire duration of your Zhonya's. That's a lot of time that you can spend to help your team if you're using your Shroud at the right time and your Zhonya's. The worst thing you can do in a team fight is waste your Shroud, because you are going to be defenseless. So that is going to take some practice to getting used to, but with time you will learn to do it like a pro. Alright guys, and now we are going into the very first game, and this is going to be a very fun one because we're going against a bunch of tanks, and so many things are going to have to be played correctly in order to thrive versus their team comp. It's essentially an enemy team is just filled with champions that destroy you. But I actually don't know what my team is doing right now. We're playing in a pretty high elo, so this is going to be fun too. We're going against a Galio, which is someone I usually ban. I just didn't ban him this time. And overall, I want to talk about the steps we're going to take to getting fed and winning this game. So the first thing is Akali versus Galio is pretty easy to win if Galio doesn't have Aftershock, so I'm going to show you how to play the lane out. So hopefully we can get a kill or two by level 6. If we just outplay him. Fiddle isn't that strong as a ganker until 6 as well, so we should have free reign over outplaying him without getting interrupted. Neither jungler is really useful pre-6. But against their team comp, it's a tank, someone who's pretty hard to kill, Fiddlesticks. Galio's impossible to kill. Caitlyn's pretty hard to kill. Janna is going to make it harder to kill him. So against all those things, I'm going to actually... Let's go ahead and take that trade really quick. Thank you, buddy. But against all these things, we are going for the Conqueror rune page for this game. I think that it is going to be the best here by a mile. It's going to turn us into a lot tankier because the items we're going to be building, we're going to go to Demonic Embrace. And against a team comp like this with so much CC, we want that tenacity. We want the healing, the survivability, essentially. So that's the first thing. Now, against a Galio, it really isn't too difficult. Everything he does, we have a solution. If he dashes towards you, you press E. You have to be pretty quick about it. You have to be pretty confident about it. So like right there, it's a free little trade. And we're going to just, you know, he does X, we do Y as a response. If he had Aftershock, it'd be a lot different, but they never have Aftershock anymore because Predator is like meta right now in Galio, so it doesn't really matter. Now, we are going to be going ahead and running him down a little bit before he hits 3. And missing everything, sadly. And I'm still going off the assumption that Fiddle isn't a real champion, which is maybe a little aggressive, but even if he pops out of the brush, what is he going to do? Try to run up to me to hit me with a fear? Very unlikely to work. And now I think Galio might have actually recalled to win lane, use an early TP. Yeah, okay. And honestly, that's a very long cooldown. He's not going to be getting really anything out of it. Oh, okay. So he's going to try and push this. He's not freezing that. We're not letting him. That is enough damage. Wow. So I saw he tried to actually get a freeze going, which is, you know, you hold a giant wave right outside a tower, you tank it until the next wave shows up, so you just have it stuck at your wave. And a lot of the time you can out-aggressive him, so you can just make an aggressive play onto him while he's taking a bunch of minion damage. If nothing else, we break the freeze. But in that exact situation, we were able to actually get the kill onto him just by, you know, we were confidently weaving our passive procs. We're not worried about Fiddlesticks because he's not 6 yet. There's no chance at 3 minutes in. It's quite frankly impossible. And yeah, we just play confidently, right? And this guy is, I think he's Diamond 4 or something like that. So it's not like we're hard smurfing. Like, this is how you can play against competitive players. Now, moving on, we are going to be talking about items. I'm actually going to wait here for a little bit of gold, and so that means I can actually run really far. And wait a second, Shroud's about to expire. Then we throw the E, get the boots, and then we go ahead and fly back in. That's going to, doing something like that is going to save you, that probably saved me like 5 seconds. Just, we don't have to run all the way to where we teleported to, or flew to.
The rules
So now at this point, you know, you guys learned the basic combos and stuff in boot camp. We're going to be trying to set up our first kill. So we want the wave to be just outside of the tower, because Galio, I don't think he has flash. I'm not really good at remembering. That's something important to keep track of their summoners. But I personally am not good at that. Okay, Galio is literally, I should have. Okay, so Galio flashed from bot lane. Okay, so that's good to know. So we have, I think, 6 minutes of him not having flash, which means that it is going to be a brutal lane for him, especially with our ignite coming up in a minute. But what we want to do is just try to push all of these without really missing any. And now, normally, it's tough. I would say probably go to dragon, but getting this plate is guaranteed, and they might not actually be a dragon. And for that reason, I am going to go for the plate, and it looks like that was the right move. You could get a double kill very easily, and maybe even like a dragon steal or something like that. This is okay. Yeah, this is actually completely fine here. I'm actually probably going to win this. Okay. Yep. Oh, he is 6. I'm going to run far enough away to the point where he can't really do anything tricky. And also, I don't think they can see me recalling from here. So, should be safe. Okay. And now, Galio is an issue. Or sorry, not Galio. The Fiddlesticks is an issue. And in this rare situation, I'm going to be going for Merc Treads. They quite literally have so much CC that it's going to be one of the 20-30 games. One in 20-30 games, I'll go for it. But they have so much slows and CC that I'm going to want to get this time. A lot of AP as well. So yeah, we're doing it. Alright. And now, because we don't have our ultimate, we're probably just going to keep it slow, let their wave take minions away from him. He's going to be throwing Qs from max distance. We do want to ping that Galio is missing very quickly, and ping that his ult is a possibility. Ooh, I accidentally queued that. Yeah, okay, so there they go. And you know what? Honestly, I'm not going to get mad about the fact that they all died there, because it happens way too often. There's a reason why Twisted Fate is so good in solo queue. And it's not because he's able to one-shot people. It's because he's able to just teleport, and without like voice comms, me screaming into their ears, it just happens. So, I mean, you should never be tilted about anything, honestly.
No one tells me what to do. Not anymore.
Oh, I'm just gonna go ahead. It's actually okay. We already have a Leeching Leer, which is gonna give us a little bit of Omnifam. So, even if we take tower shots, it should be okay because we're just going to heal back up.
You're gonna bleed.
I thought he might dash in on me right there. I will be there to, because there's nothing for me to do here, there's no wave. I'm definitely going to at least stay near the Rift Herald for a second.
I am my own master.
Okay. And we know there's a ward right there. And now, unfortunately, they have a freaking Fiddlesticks, so I have to be kind of careful. Wait. Go with the Q, slow. Alright. There we go. And I don't know why he did that, but unless he literally pressed R the second I jumped in, I get that kill. And I don't think most people really think to do that. So that is going to be a bad gank from him. And what do you know? A champion like Akali is the perfect champion to deal with stuff like that. Turn around 2v1s, literally win games by herself 1v5. There's just, Akali is quite literally the best champion for solo queue. And I'm glad that despite their team comp being the worst possible, one of the worst team comps possible to go against, I'm able to show you guys how to take little leads. And we are just going to go back. We have enough gold for our items. And now I'm going to ask bot lane swap. This is something you can do for two different reasons. Number one is to relieve pressure from your bot lane so they can farm mid safely. Number two, maybe not so much against this team comp, but Akali can 2v1 kill champions very easily. Caitlyn, Janna will be kind of tough, especially without my ult. But yeah, they have so much CC and nonsense that I might actually would get turned on, especially if a Galio ulted. But regardless, not a big deal. Not bad. Get them a little bit closer to each other. There we go. I barely missed that. I'm definitely misplaying this. Wow. Oh, he dashed. That's crazy. That timing is just so sad. Okay. You sure you want a 1v4? Yes. I'm pretty sure. Okay, let's take this tower out. Always looking to take as much gold as possible, destroy as many objectives as possible. Uh-oh. Did not see there was no minions left. Okay, really likes minions. Oh. Okay, I think we're gonna leave this. We're at a pretty low health point, and I actually might be able to pick up a kill here off of Janna going over and warding. If she wards brush, it is a kill. I saw her. That's a kill? No way. Okay. Yep, this is not working out for us. This is actually probably really bad. I'm so worried about this fiddle. For a good reason. Okay, now we take this. Yeah. Luckily, the Conqueror Riftmaker build is really good for extended trades. We're not going to be pushed out of lane with a simple bit of poke. And we kind of just know that. We know we're going to keep healing up. So we're able to stay for longer. And yeah, keep queuing waves to heal up. Obviously, we just healed 100 off of doing that. And now we're back to full health again. So less downtime. And that's just another reason why Akali is the best champion. And can do all these crazy 1v9 carry things. It's just, she can heal. She never has to go back. Oh, that's not, don't take that literally, but, you know. When she gets a lead, she snowballs so hard because of the healing, the damage, and all the mobility. It's just one giant thing. And now, against her team comp, I'm going to be going for a Demonic Embrace over the Zhonya's because, quite frankly, I can't see a single spell I want a Zhonya's besides the Fiddlesticks ult. And that's not even going to do that much damage because of how far behind he is. And one more thing. If there's a Caitlyn that counters Zhonya's, because she's just going to set a trap on top of my Zhonya's. And if I get hit by a trap, I will not be able to use my Shroud either way. So I'm just double screwed in that regard. But yeah, at this point, we've got a lead going. And we just want to keep on trying to teamfight. It seems to be working. They're not really chain CCing us. And even if they are... We built our lead doing this, so let's just do what we know works. Okay. Yeah, we're just gonna keep on pressing Q. I don't know what we're doing here. I don't know if this is even a good idea. I can probably say this is a bad idea, and it's time to get out. We just didn't get as much as we wanted, that's all. Okay, we're gonna press Q on this. And just use as many abilities as possible. Omnivamp is 100% effective with single target spells, so pressing E is going to heal us up a ton. Wow, wow, what the heck is that pathing? I didn't need to die there. I actually would have killed her. I would have actually killed her. Because I turned the corner, she can't auto-attack because there's a vision. My E, my double E into Q would have healed enough. Oh, that's such a shame. We're literally playing perfect until that point. Oh, I hate that for the video. I hate that. Okay. Anyways, looking at their team, their build, they don't have really any MR yet. So we could go for anti-heal. We could go for more flat AP. I don't think we need much more damage. I think Cosmic Drive is actually a good option when we are frontline and just trying to outplay 5 people. Their team comp doesn't have any point-and-click CC other than the Fiddlesticks drain, so Cosmic Drive can be good right here. But another option would be to go for the Zhonya's. I just don't think that it's the best right now, and I think Rabadon's is really expensive, especially for a 3rd item. So I can't really think of a better item here. You could go for Ravenous Hydra, but honestly, I don't see that working out as the season continues. I think that 80, I'd rather do a build that I think is going to be good forever. Wait. Oh. Okay, time to leave on this. No, we should be fine here. Just have to wait a few seconds for our cooldowns. But at this point, no need to be too afraid. We are tanky. Alright. Okay, I think it's time to leave. We're wasting a lot of time here. Let's just go for the objective. There's not too much to do. We could have gotten one wave mid, or I don't know. We were waiting for the objective, which is dragon. And another thing I want to talk about is the importance of forcing dragon fights early game. You guys, and mid game, Akali wins team fights very easily. You just need to get them out of their tower. So forcing these dragons it's just so important. And I 100% recommend you do that. I got a little bit tricky with it. I didn't need to run back. I should have. I wouldn't have had to flash, I don't think. But either way, I still got the kill. Cosmic Drive coming up. And we can play pretty pushed up to get this wave and like mess with them a little bit, but it's obviously never ideal. So you don't know what's going to show up. And I am kind of in a way sending a lot of my teammates to be with me. I think go for mid and top. This is really good too. Now we're able to take this, and I can dive them if I know there's only 2 or 3 people. And obviously it depends on how fed you are. Like if you're fed enough, you can like 1v5 dive them. Really quick, gonna take this. Alright, and we're not gonna have enough minions. Let's just go for this really quick. Okay. And now this one is strictly for the content, but I'm going to show you guys how I would engage 1v5. I'm very much going to just jump in on them. We want to be careful of Fiddle's drain, that's about it. Yeah, that was... I couldn't get the Caitlyn fast enough. I also had to use my R2 to initiate at 100% health. Oh, so that was not good, definitely. But we are 4-2-0, which is cool. 1-3-3-7. And now I think it's time to build... We have some options for sure. As we talked about before, Rabadon's is never a bad item. Zhonya's is never a bad item. Void Staff, against their specific amount of MR, I don't think it's necessary. So I think really the only options are going to be Rabadons and Zhonya's. And Zhonya's is overall going to be more useful. Even though they have a Caitlyn, it's going to be useful. So that's what we're going to go for. Akali being an AP bruiser is a nightmare for champions that are trying to kill her. The amount of pressure she has exponentially just multiplies. It increases very much. Alright. Alright, maybe let's actually get this. Oh, well, looks like we're living. I feel like I don't think Janna can kill me. No way. Oh, I got healed. Wow, that was actually really well played by Janna to know that I was going to be aggressive like that. Okay, and now, ideally we should be using our E. We got a lot of healing off of that. Oops. Our ultimate's up, so I think we just go ahead and have some fun again. Maybe not recommended, but you never learn by being safe. Oh, I didn't get that. How did I got the passive proc, but I didn't get it. That's weird. So it means that it registered. Huh. All right, well, that is going to be 19-2-2 in Diamond. So, yeah, guys, honestly, every game as Akali is one formula, and I actually kind of talk about this a little bit. It's step one, play the early game. So you kind of have to like realize how the early game plays out. It's either going to be you can take trades and try to solo kill them at level 2 or 3, depending on if it's like a melee matchup. Sometimes you have to play safe. You have to check for the junglers, your jungler. Always be looking at the minimap. These are just all things that will give you a lead. And then you can turn that into helping your team. You can roam around. And overall, everything is steps 1, 2, 3. Get yourself a small lead. Turn that small lead into a bigger lead by, you know, freezing the wave, forcing to overextend, or they miss minions. And then overall, you end up just going 20-2, being unkillable and carrying games. It's going to take practice, obviously, and watching my videos and guides will help you tremendously. But it's just going to take time, and just enjoy the process because this champion's a ton of fun. Now let's go into the next game. That's for the guests. That's for the e-girls. Yo, thank you, dude. Thank you. All right, let's do this. So, I'm recording a guide. Yeah, holy shit, thank you. Are you actually a simp? No. I do it for the memes, and I think it's kind of a bad joke, so I'm going to slow down on the simp thing. Holy shit, man. Yeah, thank you. What the fuck? Holy shit. Okay. All right.
If they're smart, they're scared.
Let's get rid of this thing. Okay. All right, guys, and now we're going into game number 2 of the beginner lesson nonsense. So we're going against a Annie mid. They have a Jhin, who's very immobile, very squishy. They also have a Kennen, which is one-shottable unless he goes really, really heavy health. Usually it's going to be one-shottable. So obviously we are going to be going for Electrocute. And with multiple targets to kill, we're going to be going for the multi-kill Night Harvester mythic item. And in this matchup in specific, and most AP mages that have range on Akali, it's just a matter of playing safe and trying to get the minions you can for the first 2 levels. So until you hit level 3, you're going to want to just play it safe and just farm with your Q. It's going to push into you. It's going to crash under tower by like the 3rd wave. It's going to reset. You'll see the same exact thing happening over and over again. But the thing that is going to make you lose is if you go in to try and auto-attack a bunch of minions early. Ooh, that was really... Holy crap, she's good. Anyways, the thing that's going to make you lose the lane is if you go into try and auto minions. You just have to sacrifice some and realize that it's not about getting a few minions, it's about killing them. And also there's going to be like, you know, how do you CS under tower? It's just, it takes practice, that's all I can say. I think she might have warded deep, so I'm going to go ahead and let my team know. But obviously, now we're about to be 3 in a second. I could consider using a potion here, but I actually kill her here. Wow. So yeah, I'm literally just playing until my first opportunity to kill her at level 3. And luckily for us, and not lucky, actually, you know what? If you noticed, I pressed my Shroud instantly after I used my Q. In the middle of my Q cast, I'm already buffering up my W, so I'm able to actually cancel out her stun. She tried to get a Q stun off on me, but I was too fast. You can also do that with champions like Lee Sin that are trying to kick you, so that's something as well. And yeah, lots of opportunities. So we were able to get that kill. We played it safe, and then we got rewarded because we were healthy enough to kill her at level 3. And you're going to find that, you know, even though this Annie's like Plat 1, Diamond, even in your ranks, as long as you're confident about your combos and moving quickly, because every millisecond in those situations matters. Like, if I was a millisecond slower, oh no, he didn't get the, why did he turn?
We're gonna do this,
I guess that misses. It misses when you aim like an idiot, so. Anyways, that's fine. We're going to go ahead and just try and get this minion to take the tower shot first. So we can queue all of these. No need to worry. We're actually going to... I want to mute this guy in a second because he's crying. So, get rid of him. He's kind of distracting me. And as you can tell, he doesn't know what he's doing, so probably nothing important he's going to be pinging us. So at this point, we are just keeping the wave nice and steady. She did flash as well, so we got to keep that in mind. She's going to try and go for the cannon. And we're going to make sure that she doesn't get it. That's minus 70 gold for her. And we were just going to keep an aggressive freeze on her. You can freeze range champions pre-6 if you know what you're doing. And now she's going to go in there. And we're not going to take that stun, or that E rather, because we know that she has her stun up and she's just going to do a bunch of damage. And Zai with the gifted tier on Darius, thank you. So yeah, and at this point she's low, so we wanted to shove the wave in. We're relatively close to 6. We're relatively close to Ignite coming back up. But I need to make sure that I don't get in a bad spot to get ganked. So I'm probably going to just play this kind of slow until I get Ignite up. Actually, no, I think we can dive her. Yeah, let's go for the dive. So I see Graves is topside. Even at, you know what? Oh my gosh, I took 2 tower shots. That's so stupid. Let her do the stun. I can't, sadly. The 2 tower shots really bums me out. I am going to go for some kind of kill here. I'm actually really annoyed. I'm just incredibly triggered. I messed up every aspect of that entire fight. It's for the best. It's for the best. She gets a little bit back. Well, I missed 2 Qs. Definitely playing that a little slow. So I gotta realize you're gonna end up in a spot that is literally in a direct line from where you start and where she is. And I just messed that up completely. Anyways, not a big deal. If anything, you can see what to do now. So her ult is up, and I'm 60 seconds till mine's up. Gotta grab that really quick. Get that last second minion. But yeah, her ult's coming back up. Her ult is up, rather. So we want to play safe until ours is up, or we want to just shove this wave while she's recalled and just go for our own for ourselves. Anything to not be one-on-one in lane for the next 40 seconds is very, very much the way we want to play this because of what happened. So now we're just doing like damage control, really, if you think about it. In its own way, obviously, you know, nothing too crazy, but we're just trying to minimize our risk because now Annie's back, and actually very much, yeah, Leona is there. And what do you know? Wait, that's a kill. Oh, man. That's a huge shame. But luckily this right here, so we should be able to heal up to full. We got a potion as well. Q that to heal. My ult is back up. I feel like we could win this very easily. See, I can't go in, and this Nunu doesn't know how to use a snowball ability, so it's a huge shame for us. I got him. Yeah, nothing else to be had. Yeah, wow. Okay. It's not about this isn't a new hate video, so we're gonna ignore that. But you can see we're literally waiting to go in. I knew that Annie would stun me the second I fly in, so knowing that, you just don't do anything ridiculous. Even if my shroud is up, I would have just taken a lot of damage. I would have been pushed out of the fight because Graves and Annie have a lot of burst. But now I don't think Annie has her ult, so we're safe to do a mild form of nonsense if we want to. But there's really nothing to get, so we're just gonna go back. Now it's time to. I think we keep pushing actually. We want to get our mythic item, obviously. And while it's not like, yeah, it's actually fine. It's not the biggest thing in the world if we don't get it. We're in a pretty good spot to power farm because her ult is down. We're not in any immediate danger. And I'm gonna be able to take this whole wave. I'm probably just gonna go ahead and start running away from this. Okay, I'm gonna ping for the Nunu just in case he's like pinging me back. I muted his ping, so I don't know if he's crying. But regardless, her stun is down. I feel like I'm able to just go in on this. Okay. See, it was a really good try by him. Okay, now almost successfully power farmed. I'd assume her ult is back up. We have 3 stacks of Ravenous Hunter, which is nice. If she get that stun out of the way. This is such a bad idea. Oh, I tried to get an auto off. I knew a Q and auto would be enough. Oof. Yeah. He's putting us in some situations. That's okay. I'm gonna play safe till 11. So I'm saying that just so New doesn't get tempted to do anything. I'm not telling him, you suck, don't come mid. It's more so like I'm putting it on me because I don't want it to freak out and like rage quit or whatever. Which, you know, honestly, playing freaking what's it called? Playing teacher or what's it? I don't know. We have to basically deal with children as a part of our job. And honestly, I'd just assume every one of your teammates is a child that will freak out if you give them a reason to. Okay. But yeah, now time to continue on. Wow, lots of damage there with our Night Harvester, and it's obviously good to get the poke off. It's only a 40-second cooldown, so you know by the time I'm ready to probably ult engage on her, it'll be back up. What? Very surprised on that. Okay, dragon's up relatively soon. And she completely sidestepped my E again. Probably can't do anything there, sadly. I might be able to go in. Nope, I'm dead. Wow, thank God. Thank the Lords. Oh my gosh, okay. And shout out to the time we spent in practice tool learning that we can use that E over the wall. Literally, I think most Akalis would have died there. But now, I'm going to kill him. God damn it, just die. I missed everything again. I am literally a skill shot monkey, dude. What the heck? Okay, Brain is there. but the aim is just not. The aim is just not. And we're fine to push this. Bot lane won't be there for a second, so I'm gonna take the plate. All right, I got the plate. I am. Okay. Jesus. Well, that's a TP. And I don't think I have anything to be worried about because okay, she just used her spell, so I can probably press Q on this wave. Yeah, should be fine. Just push this really quick. I mean, okay. Yeah, a lot of aggression in a bad spot for my team. Pretty much nothing really to take, but here they are. Okay. And right there I probably would have gone in, honestly. Heal up slowly but surely with the spell vamp. Ult's up relatively soon. I think her ult comes up before mine, so just gonna be getting that cannon. Okay, there's another fight to be had here. I'm gonna be much ahead of her, so I should be safe here. This should be free for us, and Leona is really asking to die. Okay. Wow, Nunu got the kills. That's not good. It's fine though. Let's go ahead and just take this. Yeah, we might actually take first turret here. This is going to be a lot of gold if we grab it. Okay, and now we have some time to think about the build. Against this team comp, it really would be a good idea to get some Merc Treads. They literally have double AP of Leona, and but there is an alternative. Rip. That alternative is to just get health right after we finish our Sword Boots. So we could be going for a Demonic Embrace here, or we could just get something else to make us tanky like a Zhonya's. 5 kills on their AD champions. It's not a bad idea. Zhonya's thing, Annie's, Tibbers is, in a way it's hard, but in a way it's really easy because once you just get next to an Annie and they usually press Tibbers immediately. So you can kind of read when they're going to use it. So in that way it's pretty easy to Zhonya's it. But also, you know, we can Zhonya's Leona and Kennen, so it'll be useful. And if that hit, I may have killed her. My ult's still down, so. God, dude, just stop. Let me ult you. Alright, sun's down. Oof. Okay. They're not giving me any chances to kill him. I need to hit my E, honestly. That's the problem. And I don't know where anyone is, so I'm going to stay relatively safe next to my turret. Without knowing where Leona is, this is probably a Nunu bait, honestly. Okay. Well, cannon's gone. Good gank. Alright, that tower's going down. Just going to be here for the local gold. Just queue everything up. Okay. If we connect to E, it's a kill. Should be fine. Just kidding. Alright. Well, until it became like a 3v5 in their base, it was a pretty good idea. And honestly, it looks like he salvaged it. No, no. Alright. I will say that was worth. I mean, we took a mid tower, we took a lot. Like, yeah, that's worth. That's worth. And the biggest benefit is that Nunu's gonna be dead, so we can take the blue buff without him stealing it. So that's nice. And we'll get blue buff. We'll be, yeah, we're really far ahead. It's actually fine. So this is like a more typical snowball. You just play hyper aggressive. You roam around a lot, and you never stop roaming when it makes sense. Obviously, sometimes it won't make sense, and part of the process of becoming a better player is learning when you should and shouldn't. But in general, I would say think about it after you clear every single wave. That'd be a good time, because I'm not saying roam too much rather than too little, because that could be really bad. Oh my gosh. Dude. No, that was that I don't know. You know what? Alright. Yeah, I got nothing. That was interesting. Let's go ahead and just pick up the more expensive of the two items. In general, just because you never know, it's better to buy the more expensive items usually, because it'll be a lot easier to fill up your inventory later. Like, it's hard to explain, but just that's a default. And 7, 3, and 5. So good stuff so far. We have our Zonias coming up in like a minute, so we have to play relatively safe until then. Because at this point in the game, you gotta understand, as an assassin, if you jump in, they have CC and burst. Almost every single team comp will have a good amount of burst and CC. So you can't just be jumping in like a monkey. You can't be frontline. You can't be going in solo without knowing that there are no wards. Like, I just cleared out vision, and I know that they don't know where I'm here. Like, now I might be able to get like a good flank on like a Jhin that's like here or something like that. Not even actually. All right, that's the Jhin kill we're looking for. Oh my gosh. Uh-oh. Yeah, and no Zonias, sadly. No Zonias, but Nunu doing some work in the side lane, I guess. Doing some work. Okay. Alright, now at this point, we've pretty much just pressured them to the point where we can get there. We almost have their mid turret. We've taken 3 dragons just off of. We're literally not letting them be anywhere close to it. So we've done a good job in that regard. And even though we've died a bunch, the game pace has been like, we're going up and up closer towards victory. So that's definitely good. But yeah, and as long as we trade 1 for 1, there's no objectives up, it's really not bad. Any gold on Akali early mid game is worth way more than anyone else. Okay, we're gonna go for kills here. Zonias is up, so we should be free. Should be free to get some kills. This guy. Cannon's probably in this brush, no? Should be dead. Come on, let me just kill you. Wait. Yeah, thank you. Alright, you know what? This is another fun play, I guess you could say. And you know what? The real MVP of that fight was the Tibbers. He just gave me 50 gold. Alright, heal up a decent amount with the spell vamp from our Ravenous. Okay. Now, tower goes down. We still have the Zonias, so I can be a little bit questionable on how far we go into their team. But honestly, I think we're fine. I don't even think we should go for this one. I think we're just... yeah, we might die on for this. Wait, they didn't actually go for us. They were 3v5. They didn't go for us. Definitely weird. Okay. And yeah, the W is gonna cancel out her stun.
I got a pack full of
And we have the Lich Bane which is, I would say, questionable, but because of like their CC's pretty easy to avoid as long as I'm not like, if I'm gonna run into Annie when she has her stun up. Get that damn bear. Nice, okay. But yeah, I know it seems like they have a lot of CC, so Lichbane is probably questionable. But I've been liking it a lot more. I don't know if they changed or if they changed anything. It just kind of fits the whole like Night Harvester build. But this build, AP Assassin build, you go very... Uh-oh. Uh-oh. Does he kill everyone here? He does not. But yeah, anyways, this AP build, you play a lot safer. You play just like an assassin, and that little burst can be useful, especially with the multi-kill damage off Night Harvester. But yeah, that's going to be the second game of the beginner explanations. And now, guys, I'd like to welcome you to the matchup section. Most of this is going to be from the previous guide, but every matchup I missed or every matchup that is new to the game will be included. And we're also going to bring in the old ones so you can just go to this video every time instead of having to go from one to another and not knowing which one. So enjoy, guys. So starting off, we have Aatrox. Usually you'll play against him top lane, but generally you do not want to try and trade him at level 1 because he simply does too much damage. If he hits you with the Q, his passive procs, he'll heal. Do not try to fight him until around level 3. At that point, you should be able to try and dodge out his Q, maybe try and bait him into throwing it out, and then once he misses the first one, the next few should be pretty easy. You got to be aware of his dash ability too. But overall, it's a pretty simple matchup at level 3, so I highly recommend you do not play aggressive until then, but past that point, just try to play it out. You will have to outplay him by baiting out his Qs, by trying to hit him with an E when he tries to dash towards you, and overall use your shrouds to your advantage. But this matchup is a mostly skill matchup. I would say it's about a 50-50 matchup. Just be sure you try and wait for your cooldowns to be up when you go on him, otherwise he's going to run you down. Next up, we have Ahri. This is a champion that you should not try to fight at level 1, and you should not try to fight at level 2. At level 1, you're not able to get in a range, she'll auto you and then Q you, she'll proc Electrocute, and she'll take an amazing trade on you. At level 2, it's the same exact thing. If you try to run up to her, she's going to charm you in the face. But at level 3, once the minion wave is about evened out, you don't want to fight Ahri the second you hit level 3 if there's a giant wave at your turret, and there usually is. But around 3.5, level 4, when the wave is back to even, you know, the tower destroys that giant wave around level 3, and then it's about even, then you can look to play aggressive, try to Q her, but be behind your minions, or just run left and right to zigzag so she can't hit you with the charm. The goal is to not get hit by the charm. After you hit her with the Q, then you back up a little bit, get your passive proc, and then you can use your shroud to try and run up to her, hit her with the passive proc, Q her again, and then maybe even E on the way out. Just try to wither her down. Post 6, it's not easy to kill her, but it gets pretty easy. You have to try and hit her with the ult whenever you can. She's a pretty low range champion in that way, but if you can connect the ult onto her, then you have to try and maybe ult her and then run sideways or dash, hit her with the E. Something to not get hit by the charm, but if you are going to get hit by the charm, it's not a big deal if you have your E2 on her, because at that point you can she'll try to run away, you can follow her at the E2, and then you can go ahead and fly right through, do the classic level 6 combo, and luckily Akali has the tools needed to stick onto the Ahri. She's very squishy, should be able to kill her at level 6. Next up, we have Anivia. This matchup is specifically tricky if you're unexperienced with the matchup, but here's the thing about Anivia. You don't want to get hit by the Q, that's pretty much it. If Anivia ever hits you with an E without getting you slowed or stunned by her Q, it's not going to do bonus damage, and essentially it just tickles you. So with that in mind, just all you have to do is be very careful. Don't get too close to the minion. If she's on top of your minions you're trying to farm, and then you're trying to run up to last hit, she's going to stun you point blank, and that is going to hurt a lot. What you can do is about a few Teemos from the distance you get to Anivia, you can try to maybe bait out her Q, like run, like you're pretending to hit to last hit a minion, and then you just back up or sidestep. Once her stun's down, it's on a pretty high cooldown. You have a lot of opportunity to zone her, harass her, and then, you know, you can start withering her down. It's a pretty straightforward matchup because Anivia is also a pretty short-range champion that doesn't have so much long-distance wave clear. So she is relying on her Q, and if that's down, you can use your best mechanics to try and beat her in the early game. But once it hits level 6, you'll just try to shove the wave. That's okay. You just have to shove back and roam. Not going to be too many opportunities for you to kill her post 6, but especially since she builds tanky. But at that point, you can just try and shove as she shoves, and then roam around, and then look for plays, get her out of her tower, and then, you know, she's an immobile mage. Well, if she's not under a tower, it gets a lot easier to kill her, so you can invade, you can go for dragons, roam top or bot, stuff like that. And now for Annie. Annie is also a pretty interesting matchup in that she does a lot of point and click harass, but at the same time, she is a pretty squishy champion with no escape. So with that in mind, what I would say is, other than keeping track of her stun passive, just keep in mind when she uses her Q. It's a pretty low cooldown, but there are small windows in which when she uses her Q on a minion, because a lot of, if not most Annies use their Q to last hit, you can go ahead and go for a small combo, Q her, and then get your passive proc, Shroud for the movement speed burst, auto her, passive proc her, and then Q again, maybe throw an E on the way out. Try to wither her down slowly and surely, take these small trades here and there, wait for your cooldowns to come back up, but overall, level 1, level 2, try to last hit from a distance. You can take the initial first 3 minions that come into the game by autoing, because she really won't be able to hurt you that much, and if she does try to harass you, your minions will fight back. But past that, just wait till around level 3, level 4, till you have 1 point in each spell, wait for her to use her spells, or if at least take 50-50 trades. Also at level 6, when she has her tippers, you have to be extremely careful about not dipping below 70% health, because Annie can kill you around that 70% mark. She has so much damage with tippers, obviously, so you definitely want to make sure you have potions throughout the lane. If you're ever recalling at level 5 in anticipation of a level 6 fight, make sure you have potions. Maybe even go for a Dark Seal and some potions instead of an Amplifying Tome, just to really give you that extra early game damage and healing. Now for Aurelion Sol. This one is tricky if you're against a good Aurelion Sol, but for the most part, it should be an extremely easy matchup. All you have to do is abuse him by just constantly going in for trades here and there. Your Shroud should make it so it's pretty hard for him to fight back. Aurelion Sol is a champion that really thrives off of just shoving the wave and roaming anyways. He's not looking to kill an Akali in lane. So with that in mind, try your best to wither him down whenever he extends for you to combo him. If you're not able to do that, just make sure you're keeping an eye on him. If you don't see where he is, remember, he can get from mid lane to top or bot within like 7 seconds with a giant stun, fully charged, so be sure you are pinging your team as fast as possible. And now for Azir. This champion is very unpopular as I'm making this video, but he is still very deadly. All he's going to do is try and poke you to death. He's going to summon soldiers and try to have them auto you, so with that in mind, make sure you're on one side of the lane. He summons a soldier, say to the left side, because you're on the left side, then run to the right side. It's all about just minimizing the poke he does, because in reality, it's impossible to fully get rid of Azir's poke. Luckily, it doesn't hurt too bad unless he gets multiple autos off per soldier. But if you limit the amount of autos you take per soldier to 1 to 2, then you'll be able to survive the lane until 6. Post level 6, I do not recommend trying to fight Azir unless he is just wide open for you to E him. He is at your tower, and then you can fly into him with your E and then Q auto. Then you can fly into him with your E. You can passive proc. You can Q, use your Shroud, and then keep chunking him that way. But in general, Azirs won't let that happen. They're going to make your life a nightmare. So just try and get as many minions as you can. With your spells pre-6. Post-6, try to let him shove into you. And then, you do that classic combo where you ult into him, you hit him with the E, and then even if he pushes you with his ult, you have your E2 to fly into him, you have your R2 to fly into him. It's a pretty hilariously easy matchup to kill him at. And also be aware, don't waste your ult just for him to fly into his turret with his spells. Yeah, overall, just be careful, but then you can kill him at 6 easy. Next up, we have Brand. This is a very unpopular matchup as... Oh, it doesn't matter. Next up, we have Brand. This champion is going to try and poke you to death, but Akali can do a lot of work against Brand with her Shroud. Keep in mind, when you are on fire from Brand's passive, whenever he hits a spell, he starts hitting you with damage over time. Every time that damage over time hits you, it will reveal where you are in the shroud. He won't see you, but a little image of you in invisibility will pop up. So keep that in mind. You won't be able to completely juke out his skill shots when you pop out. But you can actually use that in your favor. Say you know that it pops out, he's going to see you on the left side of your shroud. The second after you finish popping out to reveal yourself where you are, you can go to the other side of the shroud and maybe make him miss spells that way. But overall, just avoid level 1 poke, just try to stay safe. Level 2, you can definitely try to hit him with an E. Usually they'll have E, W, and then get their Q at level 3, so you'll have a lot of opportunity to kill him at level 2 if you can land your E, because simply put, an Akali level 2 does a lot of damage to Brand. He's a squishy champion and he has no escape, so your first honest kill potential will be at level 2. Past that, level 3, if you can try and wither him down, but you don't want to get hit by the stun and hit by his passive, because then he'll just back up afterwards. But past that, level 6, extremely easy kills. Just to use something, your E, your R, something to dodge his stun if possible. If not, as long as you're not ulting or Eing backwards into his tower, you're going to do so much damage to him that it doesn't even matter if he hits you with the stun. Because simply put, Akali can kill Brand 100 to 0 in about 6 seconds. It would take a Brand with all of his spell cooldowns at level 6 about 15 seconds. So just feel free to just jump on him and destroy him at level 6. Next up we have a Caitlyn. If you ever have the misfortune of going against a Caitlyn, no pun intended, if you ever have to go against a Caitlyn mid or top, just get cloth armor and some potions and just try to survive the lane until 6. It's really that simple. You're not going to be able to kill a Caitlyn. If you try to jump into her, she's going to just non-stop poke you out. If you try to dash into her, she's going to E you and then hit you with the headshot. There is no good option for this lane until 6. But once you hit 6, she's an 80 carry in your lane. It's hilariously free gold. Just jump her. Be wary of her traps because those will completely destroy you. You have to work around those, but I'm sure you can do it. Best of luck on this one. Next up, we have the Cassiopeia matchup. So this champion is going to be a little interesting for you. I would say just try your best to stay just outside of range of Cassiopeia's Q. Most Cassiopeias start E level 1, then go Q level 2. But if she goes Q, either way, it doesn't matter. All you need to know is the range, roughly, about how far she can cast her Q. Sometimes you can try and bait out champions like Syndra Q, Cassiopeia Q. Like pretend you're going to go run up to auto attack a minion and then back up when you think she's going to throw her Q onto you. It's actually not as hard as you think once you start practicing it. So yeah, when your minions are around, 1 or 2 autos from death, start running towards it, and then when you're allegedly supposed to try and last hit it, then you back up. Then her cooldown will be down, then you might be able to take a trade onto her, maybe zone her off of a minion with your pressure. But anyways, past that, level 3 is when you get every spell, level 3 is when she gets every spell. If you can dodge 1 Q, then you have the green light to go in, but if you get hit by her Q, she's going to hit you with a ton of ease and she is going to combo the crap out of you. I don't even think you can win a 1 versus 1 at level 3. It would be very close and not worth it essentially. So just on that note, if you get hit by a Q, do not go in for the trade unless you can kill her obviously. But if you can dodge the Q, try to go in for your own combo. Maybe you can E backwards, fly into her Q, passive proc, go into Shroud, Q her again, passive proc again. And then once her Q comes back up on like the 4 whatever second cooldown, then just reset, get your energy. But this lane is going to be more Cassiopeia sided for sure. But if you're good enough, you can definitely kill them. I'm killing Diamond Cassiopeias at level 4 all the time, simply because they feel confident enough to overextend and then they end up taking 1 bad trade too many. It only takes 2 or 3 good combos to kill them around level 4. Anyway, next up we have the Cho'gath matchup. So Akali versus Cho'gath is something that is going to be a little annoying for you at first. Just thinking about all of Cho'Gath's abilities, his Q is going to be an AoE knockup that pokes you, his W is going to be an annoying poke that silences you, and his E can be used through minions to poke you. Everything with all that said, it is going to be a lot easier than you think. All you have to do is understand the different types of combos he can do. He can either try and Q you first, and then W, in which case if he tries to Q you first, all you have to do is E backwards or press W, and then, you know, he can't auto you follow it up. But try to just E out of the Q. That's what I highly recommend. If not, use your Shroud burst of movement speed to just run out of the Q range. That's the first way he can combo you. The second way would be he hits you with a W. On that note, you can kind of assume a Q is coming up, and Cho'Gath's Q is pretty easy to dodge, I'll tell you that much. So just around the time after he finishes casting his Q, or his W rather, so around the time after he finishes casting his W, it takes about a second to channel, because, you know, he can't just instantly WQ at the same time. You know he's about to cast his Q right after, right? So completely just 180 the direction you're going, and that's going to work a lot of the time. You'll completely make him miss his Q. Other than that, he is a champion that naturally shoves the wave due to all of his spells being AoE, even his E is AoE. So once you hit around level 4 or 5, it's going to be extremely easy to start poking him out. Or if you don't want to do that, if you want to wait till 6, he's going to always shove the wave. So that means that just all you have to do is try to freeze the wave right outside of your tower. You guys both hit level 6 and he is as good as dead. There's no way a Cho'Gath at his tower is going to survive you unless you really mess up, to be completely honest with you. Next up, we have the Corki versus Akali matchup. And this one is extremely interesting as well. The thing about Corki is he likes to auto attack you and Q you, but his stuff is a very, very short range, to be completely honest with you. So when he tries to auto you in your last hitting, or he tries to just auto you and Q you, ideally you do not want to take the poke of his Q, but you can absolutely trade back. And I think that's something that a lot of Akali's mains don't understand, is if he goes into Q you, you can definitely just try and Q him back and then get a passive proc and then fly back in. And then at that point, you can go in through your Shroud, you can hit him with that passive proc we talked about, you can hit him with another Q and then E and fly out, and then he's going to be left with, you know, he's going to have nothing to do. He's going to have his E channeling, you might get an auto off in that time, but simply put, you're going to take better trades if you play aggressive in this matchup. But as for levels 1 through 5 and level 6, level 1, Akali versus Corki. Corki's going to win, be a little bit careful on that. Level 2, if he'd have to mess up, you'd have to let you hit him with an E. So if you can't hit Corki with an E, you most likely won't be able to. Be careful on that as well. But level 3, once you have that Shroud to help you maneuver, once you have that Shroud for that bonus movement speed, then that's when you realistically can start winning the lane. But as I mentioned before in different matchups, do not try and fight a Corki or anyone when they have a giant minion wave. Usually around level 3, if you're playing passive, there will be a big enemy minion wave built. Just wait until it evens out in the mid lane after your tower destroys. It might be around level 3.5, level 4. Then you can start playing aggressive, assuming you haven't taken too much damage, which you shouldn't. You should be very careful, always take even trades. Next up, we have Darius versus Akali. This one is extremely dangerous if you make a mistake. Darius can run you down with his ghost or flash W you, and then he can 5-stack you and just absolutely decimate you. So with that in mind, at level 1, you can absolutely play aggressive if you want to, but it's not going to do much against a bruiser. Level 2, he is going to have his W most likely, and you're going to have your E, and you're still not going to do too much damage, but you can absolutely try to take even trades if you want to. I don't even think you need to take trades level 2 versus Darius, but you absolutely should if you feel the situation is right. It's going to be, you're pretty much going to break even in any trade you take versus Darius level 2, unless you outplay him. If he's a good Darius, it might be a little bit of an issue. But here's the thing now, around level 3 is when you can absolutely start trying to outplay him, assuming the waves are about even. The thing is, Darius's Q does not do anything if you run into him, and your Akali's Shroud is very, very useful for getting in the middle of a Darius, making him not heal, making him not do damage. And then once you get rid of his Q, you can hit him with a few spells of your own and then fly back out with your E to safety, wait for your energy to regenerate, wait for your stuff to come back up again, and then everything should be good. A very important warning against Darius: do not find yourself getting caught halfway into the lane with no Shroud and no E. It doesn't matter if you have flash up. If you're halfway in the lane and Darius sees you without cooldowns, he is going to slow you and run you down. It is a common Darius tactic that you should never have the misfortune of dealing with. It's very, very brutal how much damage he can do and how oppressive that slow is. So keep that in mind. But the level 6 and beyond, it's just a matter of killing him like any other champion. You have Ignite to stop his heal if you want to, but you don't have to ignite his heal. It's more so just be very methodical in the way you kill Darius level 6. Don't rush into anything. He's going to take some time to wither down. All of your passive procs are needed here. So when you ult him and then you eat backwards, you're going to hit him with the passive proc, then you want to Q him and then back up, get another passive proc, fly in with your E, get another passive proc maybe before you even R2 to execute. Wither him down and then make that R2 count. Next up we have Diana. This is a very interesting matchup because a lot of people don't know in which way it goes. I can tell you right now, it is essentially up to Diana to make the mistake, and what I mean by that is you can't really fight her when she has her shield up. Simply put, her W will negate your Q auto damage, but if she greedily uses her W, you can absolutely go in for a trade of your own. And when I say she can completely negate out your poke, I do not mean don't try to be aggressive, because a lot of the time if you just Q and then run towards a Diana, this is almost all Diana players, they're not that smart, guys. All you have to do is Q them and then get your passive proc ready and run at them like you're threatening to passive proc them. Then they use their W, and then you know what, you don't have to stick around while they have a shield. You don't have to fight them while they have a shield. Just back up with your E or Shroud if you want to, but highly prefer if you use your E to back up, because Shroud can be used much better off in different situations. Anyways, another tip for the Akali versus Diana matchup is now with the new Diana rework, she can dash onto you from level 2 and beyond with her Q and then her E. You might even want to let her dash onto you. I know that sounds crazy, but if Diana Qs you at level 2 or 3 and you just run to the side away from minions, she dashes onto you, you get to E her, a point and blank E, then you can passive proc her because your E is gonna, hit her and then give you that passive proc. Then you can fly in with your E2, and I've actually killed quite a few Dianas just by baiting them out, because realistically, her level 2, level 3, level 4, level 5 QE combo doesn't do that much damage, especially compared to an Akali doing all the things I just mentioned. But post level 6, it's extremely easy to destroy Diana. Her ultimate is a AoE spell, and your ultimate is meant to decimate one target, so keep that in mind. You win level 6 and beyond, assuming you don't make mistakes for her to wither you down, and then she just all-ins you. Next up, we have Ezreal. This champion is going to be extremely annoying to lane against if you ever have to, but I'll just leave it at this. If you're going against an Ezreal in lane, let him do his thing, let him try and poke you out, just don't get forced to recall pre-6. The thing is, once again, he is an 80 carry in a lane versus a level 6 Akali at some point. You just have to get there. You will be able to absolutely destroy him post 6. If he tries to poke you with his Q from max range, just stay behind minions. Past that, he won't be able to get all the farm. But even then, if he tries to do that, you can E backwards, Q him to slow him. He's going to be forced to E out. And then at that point, if he tries to run back in for minions, you can maybe try to ult him. Lots of different variations, but overall, it's Ezreal's lane to lose, and as long as you don't mess up as a Akali, you simply can't die. Next up, we have Fiora. This is a matchup that can be 50-50 or a little bit tricky. The thing about Fiora is she's always going to try to either parry your passive proc or the second part of your ultimate, depending on what level this is happening at. But if that's not happening, if you have your Shroud up or your E, you should be able to always take even or slightly better trades against Fiora. The same thing with Fiora applies to Darius, where if you get caught halfway into the top lane with no Shroud or no E, we'll call them your escape spells, she can literally run you down so well that you're just gonna die. You're gonna be like, what the heck just happened? I just lost my entire health bar. Because simply put, Fiora is a duelist, but Akali can destroy Fiora when she tries to fight Akali. When Akali's Shroud is up, you can just juke her out, you Q her, and then go into your Shroud, end up on the other side of where she's waiting. And simply put, it's an easy matchup if you know how to use your Shroud, but don't get caught with your hand in the cookie jar, or whatever the expression is. Just be safe without spells. Next up, we have Fizz. This is a relatively straightforward matchup. He can do a lot of different things at level 1. If he starts with his E at level 1, then simply put, he just can't trade you. He might try to E onto you, but at that point you can Q him, and then you might end up taking less damage. You won't be able to get your passive proc because you Q him when he E's on top of you. By the time you back up to get your passive proc, he'll be way towards his tower. That's fine, you'll take a slightly bad trade at level 1, but now his E is down for the next 20 seconds or something ridiculous. And then at that point, your Q is going to be back up again. Then you can start zoning him off of minions or force him to take a lot of damage past that point. Alternatively, if he starts at W level 1, what you can do is just outrange him. You'd have to Q him and then try to hit him with a passive proc. If you're in the middle of swinging your passive proc at level 1, he can W you, but usually he's going to run away right after he W's you, and then in which case you can run towards him and hit him with another Q, taking a slightly good trade from there as well. Past that point, you do want to always look to E him when he Qs you. It's very easy to do. He cannot cancel his Q in the middle of the cast with his E. Therefore, your E will always be able to hit the Fizz while he's in the middle of dashing towards you. Very straightforward. And then, I guess past that, at level 6, he's going to try and throw a long-range ult. They always do. Fizz is a champion that tries to snowball just like Akali does at level 6. And with that in mind, you can try to juke it out by, like, if you know you're in Fizz's kill range, if he were to hit you with his ult, you're going to die. You can kind of, like, know that and kind of maybe, like, pretend you're running one way to try and get back to your tower. In reality, you know he's going to throw it out, and then you just back up, sidestep it. Other than that, you can just try and use your E to dash away from the ult. That works too. You know, it's a little bit of a cooldown that you might want at level 6, but you know, you can use your E. It's not a big deal. Oh, all those things combined, Fizz is a pretty easy matchup to beat. I also recommend you get a Zhonya's second item after Gunblade against Fizz. Even though he is AP, the Zhonya's active is very useful. Next up, we have Galio. Galio is a champion that most Akalis will struggle with, myself included, but the thing is, depending on how he plays aggressive or not, does he go Ignite, does he go Teleport, does he go for Corrupting Potion or Doran's Ring? If he goes for Ignite and Doran's Ring, you definitely have a chance of killing him in lane. He's already kind of tanky, but the reality is, Galio is a very easy to juke out champion. Everything from his Q, his dash, his Q and his dash are pretty straightforward in how you can dodge them or bait them out. And when those cooldowns are down, you can essentially just abuse him. He is a very, very slow, immobile champion without, you know, his dash. So just really look to play through his cooldowns. It is his lane to lose, to be completely honest. If he decides he doesn't want to play aggressive, he doesn't want to lose this lane, and he just wants to farm, you really can't do anything against the Galio because simply put, you try to force the aggression, he's going to take a better trade. So keep that in mind. If nothing else, just try to hit level 6 and then try to kill him. If that doesn't work, then just look to roam, force dragon fights. You'll have a little bit of a unsnowballed mid-game going into the game, but you'll still be Akali with a mid-game. Next up, we have Gangplank. This champion is going to be kind of a struggle because in reality, most of them go Grasp and then they just spam Qs onto you and Grasp proc. There's not much you can do about it, but what I would recommend for this matchup is wait until level 3, whether it be mid or top lane. Usually they'll be pushing to some extent. You want to try and freeze the wave closest to your tower so you have a lot of room to work with. But once you guys are both level 3 or level 4, Akali can easily jump the Gangplank, use your standard combos we talked about throughout this guide, and just absolutely kill him. Be a little bit careful about the barrels, but in reality, if you catch the Gangplank being aggressive, a little bit overextended, and you have full health, and he doesn't have a giant wave that's going to destroy you, Gangplank is a pretty weak early game champion. You have to remember, Akali beats melee champions, all things considered. It should be a slam dunk around level 4, level 3, or even level 5 or 6. Next up, we have Garen. Garen is going to be all different kinds of difficult because Garen is a champion that absolute idiots play and absolute beasts play. Depending on the Garen, Most of them will be relatively straightforward. You'll Q them and then back up and passive proc them at the same time Garen hits you with his Q, and then he'll start spinning while you E out. You're going to end up taking 50-50 trades most of the time, but eventually once you become more experienced Akali, you'll learn to space properly, you'll learn to position. So the Q autos that would normally lead into Garen hitting you with his own Q would end up being a Q onto Garen, and then you E backwards, and then once his movement speed buff from his Q expires, then you auto him, and then you take a slightly better trade. It's not going to be as much damage or health loss from both people, but it is going to win you the lane slowly but surely. Past that, level 6, you pretty much destroy Garen. Try not to R2 when he uses his little shield, his W, because that makes him tanky. You can pretty much just press E and just maybe wait it out and then dash onto him right after it expires. It only lasts a second or two, his W, and then yeah, that's pretty much all you need to know for that matchup. Now we have Gnar. Gnar is a very, very confusing matchup for a lot of people. In reality, here's the thing about him. He is a low-ranged champion. Now, I know it's kind of confusing, but in terms of him being a ranged champion or AD carry marksman, he has a very low attack range. This means that Akali can essentially always beat Gnar every single time, because simply put, Gnar does not do enough damage trading ranged as a ranged champion. His auto Q will not do nearly the same amount of damage as an Akali's Q passive proc rather. And then past that, once you hit level 3, level 2, if you land an E onto the Gnar, he is absolutely dead. He's a very squishy champion in terms of bruisers. He's honestly just a very easy champion for Akali to beat all on the board. I don't think you can really mess up. The only way you can mess up is if you find yourself overextending to try and kill him, and then you end up missing all your spells, you have nothing left, and then at that point he can just run you down through the entire lane until you get to your tower. Just be careful, but if you have your Shroud ready to go in the middle of the lane, you're actually able to try your best to take trades and destroy him, and then if all else fails, hide into your invisibility and run back to lane and wait the 18 or 23 seconds for your Shroud to come back up. Next up, we have Gragas. This is a very cheesy matchup you'll probably never go against until Diamond ELO, but in case you do, just know that he is probably too tanky for you to kill. Most Gragases will go tanky, but if he doesn't, I highly recommend not playing aggressive against this champion, because simply put, his poke is too strong, he's too tanky, and overall, he can do a lot of damage to Akali within her Shroud, because you know everything he has is AoE besides his W. So just keep that in mind. I would recommend either looking for a lane swap if it were me, but realistically that's not always going to happen. I would just look to farm the lane, to be honest. Hit level 6 and then try to kill him, because anything past that is going to be difficult. But at the same time, I do recommend just testing the waters to see if you can outplay the Gragas, because it's a skill matchup that I think, in my opinion, it's Gragas's to win. Next up, we have Heimerdinger. Oh boy, guys, if you're watching this right now and you're about to go against a Heimerdinger, I'm not saying good luck, you're screwed, but good luck, you're screwed. No, but seriously though, you're not going to absolutely get decimated in this lane, but you're not going to be able to kill Heimer. If you try, you're probably going to get turned on. If your jungler tries to gank, you're probably going to get 2v1. That's simply the nature of the game of Heimer versus Akali. There's not really much you can do to clear out his turrets. He's going to try and poke you out in the lane with his W's and E's. You need to be very wary of his long range W, his little rockets. So try to stay pretty far back when you're not last hitting. And when you do have to go up to last hit, obviously other than just using your spells, your E and your Q to last hit from far away, try to maybe run up in a straight line until the point where you think Heimer's going to throw a spell out, and then completely just sidestep it. That can definitely help you to minimize the amount of damage you take poke-wise. But anyways, once you hit level 6, try to maybe he recalls before you, and then you can clear out his towers or his turrets, and then hopefully he doesn't have a bunch of turrets when you try and jump him. If he does, you can definitely outplay it. The thing is, if you jump into a Heimer with 3 turrets with your ultimate and then you land your E, if Heimer misses his E, his little stun grenade, he won't do a bunch of damage with all of his turrets lasering you. But if he does hit you with the E, you're gonna die, because those turrets are gonna take you to like 50% health, and then he's gonna ult you in some way with his ult W or something, and then you're gonna, simply put, I recommend waiting until level 6 and then having a jungler gank you. Just deal with the pain. I've played this matchup a million times. It's not worth it. It's just not worth it. Wait till level 6 and then have a jungler gank. That is my seminar on Heimerdinger. Next up, we have Illaoi. Now guys, this matchup is actually really easy to survive. In fact, you can kill Illaoi, but you always have to be worried about the presence, the pressure that his E would give him, that little soul grabbing thing. Basically, if you stay behind minions, you should be fine to survive the lane, but at the same time, if you try to overextend to kill him, he can very easily just soul grab you and then start beating down your soul and healing up a ton with all of his spells, or her spells rather. So keeping that in mind, it's going to be pretty hard to kill Illaoi until level 6, but once you hit level 6, you need to look for an opportunity to make Illaoi miss the soul grab, and then at that point, the champion is pretty easy to kill. And also keep in mind, this champion is a very, very, very slow and very immobile champion. So if you catch the Illaoi out just a little bit, so say like not even at your tower in top lane, but like a little bit more towards your tower than the midpoint, all you have to do is ult the Illaoi, and then like maybe she misses her soul grab, and then you jump onto the Illaoi, and then she's gonna ult, and then you literally have to wait 5 seconds, wait a second, maybe just let her do her thing with her ult, because it's a very stationary thing, and she kind of just like gets caught with her pants down. And then after that point, then you can just finish her off and kill her, because she has no ult, she has no soul grab, she is essentially a worthless champion. Next up, we have Aurelia. Now this champion is something else. Just know that she can only kill you by cheesing you, and the way she cheeses you is by getting her 4 stacks of her passive, or the way she kills you or cheeses you is by getting a backline minion, your caster minion low, throwing her stun, and then dashing to the low HP caster minion, resetting her Q, and then hitting you with the stun because she's now in range after she dashed onto the minion, and then just beating you down. Other than that, Aurelia isn't a hard matchup for Akali at all, because Akali can just shroud everything. Every kind of aggression Aurelia has, Akali can just reply by pressing shroud. If Aurelia doesn't get a E mark onto you, if she can't reset her Q onto you, then you just shroud when she jumps you, and then she has no way of escaping. She can't Q back to the minion wave, she can't really do anything. So with that in mind, it is a very, very easy matchup for you, as long as you are careful to not get hit by her 4 stacks of her passive level 1. Most times Aurelia will go like Corrupting Potion, Conqueror, then they'll go for the first 3 minions, they'll Q all of them, and then by the 4th Q, it'll be onto you, and then they'll just try beating you down and taking out half your health there. Just be careful about that. But yeah, other than that, it's a pretty easy matchup. Next up, we have Jarvan IV. If you're going against a Jarvan, I don't really know what elo you're playing in. I don't really see Jarvan top ever, but we'll just ignore that part. Basically, Jarvan is going to hit you with medium or mediocre poke throughout the lane. If you have 3 potions, you should be fine until level 6. But if he does try to EQ onto you, it can do a lot of damage, because he'll follow it up with some auto attacks, especially his passive proc auto does a lot of damage. Keeping that in mind, I think just if you think he's the type of player to EQ, and you're going to have to try and like gauge this lane out, because some Jarvans just try and use their Q and E to poke, some just go all in, they're super aggressive Jarvan laners. You have to kind of gauge it out. If he's the type to EQ, if he's the type to jump on you every time, then you can easily react by pressing your E. He's going to miss his knock-up, his entire combo, and then he is going to get combo down by you. Other than that, I mean, say he does EQ you, you can Q and then shroud instantly, get your passive proc onto him, and then Q again, and then go back into your Shroud. I don't think this is a lane you can lose, to be completely honest with you, but just be careful about getting cheesed by his EQ burst. Next up, we have Jax. Jax is going to look to jump onto you and stun you throughout the lane, but whenever he jumps you, all you have to do is press your Shroud and wait until his stun circle that gives him infinite dodges is done. Past that point, he's completely defenseless, and he has no escape either because he uses escape to jump onto you, in which case you will be able to absolutely decimate him by throwing out Qs and passive procs. And you can also, if your E is up and he jumps onto you, you can respond to him jumping on you by pressing E, and then the second his stun expires, if he's already using it, then you can fly into the lane and beat him in that way. Overall, Jax is extremely easy for Akali to abuse with her Shroud, and post 6 it doesn't get any better for Jax. Akali should absolutely be able to destroy the Jax. All you have to do is be careful about his stun, but in reality you can easily just bait it out. If he uses a stun, you can use your ult to wait it out. If he uses a stun, you can use your E. If he uses his stun, you can use your Shroud. Next up, we have Jace. Jace is going to look to poke you out in the first few levels, and you have no choice but to let him. Try to use your spells to last it from as far as possible, and try to avoid his Q poke by staying behind minions. If he tries to run up to you and auto attack you, and he threatens to go into human form and Q you and beat you down, simply put, there's not much you can do about it in the first few levels. However, starting around level 3, level 4, once the minion waves are equaled out, assuming you're healthy and you haven't made any early game mistakes, like level 1 through 3 mistakes, you should be able to actually start beating him by playing aggressive. If he starts to jump in at level 3 or 4 with even minion waves, then you can reply by pressing E and then jump into him. And then the thing is, Jace does not have a real ultimate, so enjoy destroying him at level 6. Next up, we have Karma. Karma is going to try to poke you out, and unfortunately her W makes it so Akali cannot go invisible with Shroud. So that means you have to be very careful. You cannot use your E against Karma unless Karma uses her W first and you're dashing out of her W's tether range. Other than that, she's going to try and poke you out. If you try and jump on her, she's going to shield herself and then run away. You're not going to be able to kill Karma in lane unless she is overextended heavily. So keep that in mind. Just try to farm. She doesn't do that much damage with poke, so it should be relatively easy to survive the lane. Next up, we have Karthus. He's very easy to kill. If you ever go against Karthus, you should be very happy. If you ever go against a Karthus, which you probably won't, but you must be watching. Anyways, if you're going against a Karthus, just avoid taking damage from his Q. What you don't want to do is run away from your minions. You want to kind of zigzag throughout your minions, because if he does hit you with a Q and it's isolated damage, meaning you're the only one that takes the damage, it's going to hurt you a lot. I'm talking like unbelievable amounts for the early game levels. So keep that in mind. But other than that, I mean, he is extremely slow. He's immobile. At level 4, you should be able to E backwards, Q him, and then go into Shroud and then start beating him down with all the combos we've talked about. Level 6 essentially is a free win for you, because if Karthus doesn't go back before then to get a Ruby Crystal or get tanky or something, you can really easily just 100-0 combo Karthus out of thin air and kill him within like 5 seconds. Just refer back to the level 6 combos we talked about in the combo guide and the early and mid-game sections. Next up, we have Kassadin. This champion is also extremely easy for Akali to beat, because the way it works is level 1, he might try to Q you and get that shield up. You kind of just let him Q you. I found the most success by doing that. Just let him Q you the first time, wait for the shield to go away, and then you go up to Q him, and then force the passive proc. If he takes the damage from passive proc, that's great. If not, he's running back, he's staying back, he's not going to get the first 3 minions. So keep that in mind. You can really start building an early CS lead from the beginning. And the thing is, he's Kassadin in lane, so that means that he's not going to do anything to help a jungler kill you. So as long as you have like at least your Shroud or your E up, you can pretty much escape every single gank while against a Kassadin while playing extremely aggressive to zone him out. Other than that, I mean, sometimes I like to throw my E out just to add poke onto the guy, because simply put, I mean, Kassadin he's yours to abuse, Make sure you win the game though. A little side tip, make sure you win the game before level 16. Try to take every dragon, just follow the guide as best as you can, force fight, dive bot lane, everything you can, because level 16, Kassadin, you lose. You lose. Moving on, we have Katarina. Now, this is a pretty fun skill-based matchup, and I'm going to tell you what you can do to completely beat Katarina. When she tries to throw a Q out and the dagger goes onto the floor, the only thing Katarina is ever looking for to win the lane is to hit you by shumpoing or jumping onto that dagger on the floor and then comboing you from there. Her throwing her Q onto you does almost no damage. Her Eing you and then autoing you is suicide because she loses her escape, and then you can literally just combo her down and beat her up. So really the only way she wins this lane is by trying to throw a Q next to you and then jumping onto that dagger and making you take that crazy AoE damage and then comboing you from there. Just be very careful about not being in Katarina's range of jumping onto those daggers and getting a shumpo reset. Other than that, it's very easy to win the lane. Level 6 is also a cool thing because if she ever tries to ult on you, as long as you have your E or your ultimate ready to go, I kind of prefer ulting, because here's the thing, if Katarina jumps you in the middle of the mid lane and then starts ulting, you press your ult because you know it's go time probably, unless she just instantly flies away. But you want to ult immediately, because not only does it get you out of her ultimate range, but you're going to start the cooldown, the timer, to be able to use your R2, and then it's a very, it's a good mobility to have. That R2 not being targeted is very useful against a Katarina who's flying all over the place, and not to mention the amount of damage it does. Other than that, yeah, it's a pretty simple matchup. Just avoid her bouncing shurikens. Next up, we have Kayle. This is a very easy, straightforward matchup, but I will give a few pieces of advice for you. Try to play as aggressive as possible, because simply put, she's not a real champion until level 11. If she tries to hit you with a Q, if she tries to hit you with E's, know that they have very high cooldowns. She doesn't even have ranged auto attacks. So you are simply going to abuse her. She has no escape. It's just play as aggressive as possible, because the trade-off for Kayle, this is something that you should keep in mind. The trade-off of playing Kayle is you lose your early game in exchange for a fantastic late game. So with that in mind, just play as aggressive, abuse the early gameless Kayle. Next up, we have Kennen. If you're ever going against a Kennen, you need to stay behind minions. If he tries to run up to auto attack you, you need to run back, and then if he tries to get behind your minions to try and threaten you, then you want to use your E onto him, and then you can take it from there, jump him, and then if he's behind your minions, he's overextended, then you can fly in with the second part of your E and start queuing him and autoing him. If he tries to auto you, he's actually threatening you. He's trying to bully you, but in reality, if you jump him with the help of him being behind your minions are going to do a lot of damage to him in the lane. He's a squishy champion. Don't be too bullied by Kennen, but at the same time, if you find yourself getting owned, just submit, wait until level 6, try to get what you can, and then try again level 6 when you know you can absolutely decimate the guy. Next up, we have the Kled versus Akali matchup. In my opinion, Kled is the hardest counter to Akali in League of Legends, because his Q reveals you in Shroud. You don't have the range with your E to get out of his Q range. He can jump onto you. You can't escape Kled's wrath. What I highly recommend in this matchup is don't push the waters, don't test the limits, because simply put, if Kled is even close to the same skill level as you, he is going to destroy you. Just try your best, hopefully, and usually they do. They'll shove the wave into you, try to get a freeze, and then wait for a gank. He's not immune to ganks, so that's nice. But if you try to be cocky in this matchup, and I know most Akali mains or Akali players are cocky, you're just going to find yourself feeding very hard. This comes from experience, by the way. Next up, we have LeBlanc. While I don't have too much experience with this matchup, honestly, I usually ban LeBlanc. I can say that you do want to, simply put, just do not try and fight her. The thing is, her E reveals you in Shroud. If she hits you with her E, the chain, you cannot be invisible against her. If you try to dash out of it, her E chain is too much range. If you try to Q her and then auto her, she is going to reply with much more damage. She is a very, very strong lane bully and is the definition of what beats Akali in lane. In my suggestion, just stay back and farm until level 6 the best you can, and then take it from there. Hopefully you don't hit the wrong clone when you are trying to kill her at 6, but you'll be able to pop her passive once you're level 6. She's very squishy. Once she plays aggressive and uses her W, it's go time. You jump the person with no escape. Next up, we have Lissandra. This champion is going to try to extend her Q poke by hitting a minion, one of your minions, and then hitting you after it extends the range of it. What you want to do with that in mind is stay away from your minion wave. Do not let her create a line between her, your wave, and you. You need to make it so she's not able to directly extend the range of her Q and hit you and the wave at the same time. Other than that, she'll never be able to hit you because the range just isn't that much unless she pops her Q in the first place. So with that in mind, that is going to be the main way she pokes you out in the lane. Past that, depending on if she goes Aftershock or Electrocute, you have a few different ways you can play the lane. It's kind of hard to jump Lissandra with Aftershock because she'll just absorb all of your burst and then back up. And in general, Lissandra pushes the wave naturally with her Q very, very quickly. So you can try and set up a freeze. You can definitely try and just work under your tower, get minions. And then I would recommend asking your jungler to gank for you, because that is pretty much all you can do against Lissandra. She's got that crazy E to escape. You're not going to be able to kill her until level 6. But even then, if she goes for a Rod of Ages build with Catalyst, she's going to become really tanky. And I just don't see it unless you catch her outside of the tower at Dragon or the enemy jungle, something like that. Those are going to be your best bets. But in terms of killing her in lane, even at level 6, it's a stretch. But she can't really bully you out of a lane unless you simply position terribly. Next up, we have Lucian. Now, this is another case of an AD carry invading Akali's personal space, which means that you have to just simply stay back. You have to submit until level 6. Try to use your Q, your W, and your E to assist you in getting as many minions as possible. There is no secret answer to beating Lucian pre-6 as Akali. You can E onto the Lucian if he dashes onto you, and then you can try and trade then. But in reality, he's just going to follow that up with 2 autos. He's going to Q you in the face and then do 2 more autos. He does way too much damage, and I would highly advise against playing aggressive until 6. But once you hit 6, it should be pretty easy to kill him, but not as easy as other AD carries. He is pretty mobile. You're going to struggle to hit your E and your Q sometimes. But with that in mind, once he uses his dash, I think that's a good indicator to go in. If he's overextended under your tower and you're level 6, then you can absolutely kill him, because once you ult him, he's going to dash out. If he doesn't, here's the bottom line of what I'm trying to say. If you jump him at level 6 and he's under your tower, you have a lot of room to work with. Wait until he dashes to use your E. Other than that, you should still be able to destroy him by hitting with Qs and passive procs and using your Shroud to help you to your advantage. But if you miss your E, you're going to dash backwards the wrong direction, and then Lucian is going to get away, and then your ult's going to be down. I think that's a good rule of thumb. Just don't use your E until Lucian uses his E at level 6, and then pre-6, just don't play aggressive at all. Next up, we have Lux. Lux is going to attempt to poke you out, but she's also very squishy. I recommend you play very safe until level 3 when you have 1 point in each spell. Assuming you haven't lost more than like maybe 15-20% of your health, then you can definitely try and run at her, sidestep her Q, maybe go into your Shroud once you get close to her. Maybe you run up to her, get in range to Q her, and then you go into Shroud, use your passive to give you a little burst of movement speed, your Shroud to give you burst of movement speed, then try to hit her with the passive proc, and then Q, E on the way out. If Lux plays safe, you can't kill her. I always complain about this on my stream, that Lux is just such a sad champion that people always just throw E's at from their turret and then they farm until late game. If that's the case, so be it. You can't kill all Luxes if they overextend. I would just wait until 6, maybe try to dive her at that point, see if you can kill her then. If she's still playing extremely passive, because most Lux players don't have an aggressive bone in their body, I would just look to roam, look to invade, and then outplay her there. Eventually, she does have to leave her turret, and against the matchups like that, like Lux type champions where they just hide under their tower and farm, or depending on the player, you can do that with any champion. You just have to look to give them reasons to have to leave their base, or their tower rather. Next up, we have Malphite. If you're going against a Malphite, what you're going to want to do is try to just play aggressive from every last stage of the game. Malphite does well with armor, and Akali is magic damage for the most part other than her E. Regardless, she is able to out-trade Malphite at every last level of the game. But also with that in mind, you do not want to get too aggressive, because sometimes Malphite seems very easy to abuse, and then you kind of just get so aggressive that you forget that you can get ganked by a jungler. Malphite's Q is pretty oppressive, and he does have a fair bit of burst with his W and his E, not to mention. It's very good to help set up the jungler for a gank with that Q slow as well. So just play aggressive, but do not extend all of your abilities top lane, because top is a very long lane. You might end up naturally pushing the wave out and being overextended. You always want to have your Shroud and your E available if you're going against Malphite and you're at his tower, because his Q is too much for just one spell to help you out with. If he Qs you and you E, you're still going to be slowed after you dash, and then the jungler and him are going to run you down. Keep those things in mind, and then other than that, I mean, level 6, it's a crapshoot of who wins. You should be able to destroy him if he's overextended. There's nothing he'll be able to do. With that in mind, he sets up for jungle ganks very well, so keep that in mind. As long as you have a ward, you can absolutely destroy Malphite at level 6, and there's nothing you can do about it. He just doesn't do enough damage to compete with you. Next up, we have Malzahar. This champion is something that a lot of people ask me questions about. Like, I don't know, I'm not exactly sure why everyone struggles with Malzahar, because simply put, his little cloud, his little cloud of damage, I call it the AIDS cloud, it's very well projected where he's going to be throwing it out and where it's going to land to next. As long as you're not next to a 2 HP minion and you don't get hit by that, that's most of his poke. If he summons his voidlings, you can clear them out with a single auto attack or a Q, and then you're just completely shutting out his ability to shove waves in. Other than that, I mean, once you're level 3 or 4, Malzahar is a pretty short-ranged mage, so you can hit your E onto him or your Q, and then you can literally run him down. I think the problem is most people play Akali versus Malzahar, and they take a lot of damage in the first 3 levels before the wave resets for that level 3.5, level 4 jump. So just keep that in mind. Do not play. Don't get caught out against a Malzahar, but you don't have to be too worried about him, especially when you have your Shroud. He has to try and predict that little AoE gate spell. I think it's his E. He's trying to predict where you are, and his voidlings can't hurt you when you're in your Shroud. It's a very straightforward lane to win in Akali's favor, surprisingly. Next up, we have Maokai. This champion is extremely tanky and can do a lot more damage than you'd think with his Q. I don't really recommend playing too aggressive until level 4 and 5, because I think he actually takes better trades and he gets pretty big heals. And not to mention, it's kind of his lane to win yet again, unless you want to practice playing aggressive. If you can bait out his Q, or if he uses the Q to farm, that is your go. That's your signal to go in for a lot of damage, go in for a trade. You can wither him down. What the heck is this? You can wither him down, but I do think that it's going to be completely based off of when and where he makes mistakes using his cooldowns. But other than that, I mean, do not get baited out by him throwing his W at the same time you Q. A lot of times Akali players will try and Q the Maokai, but the Q and the W, his W and Akali's Q have a pretty similar range, so a lot of time you'll end up just trying to Q a Maokai while he's in the middle of his W, and it just completely fizzles out. You don't get to hit Maokai when he's in his W, and then you won't get the passive proc. You'll lose a lot of energy, so keep that in mind. Sometimes you just have to let him hit you with the W if you want to trade back, and I know that sounds weird, but it's just the best way to do it. Next up, we have Mordekaiser. Mordekaiser is going to try and poke you out in the lane because, simply put, it doesn't cost him any mana and he can just infinitely spam his spells. With that in mind, he doesn't do too much damage in the first few levels as long as you're not isolated by his Q. So if you stay on top of minions, that's one way to minimize the damage you take, but you can also just, simply put, stay back and then try and sidestep, maybe try and juke out, or pretend like you're going to go in for a last hit, and then he'll try and throw his Q in response, and then you back up. And then once his Q is down, you can play aggressive during the duration it takes for him to get his Q back up. Other than that, I mean, it's a extremely straightforward matchup because Mordekaiser's abilities are the opposite of outplay worthy. You know what every spell does if you've ever played Mordekaiser before, even once. And then yeah, once you hit level 6, he is as good as dead. You need to do that classic RE combo that we went over in the combo guide and the early and mid game sections, and then at that point you just destroy him. Like, simply put, he's got no mobility, he's pretty squishy, and not even his shield can help him. I will say though, his shield lasts for a pretty long time, so don't try and wait it out, maybe just try and shred right through it. Next up, we have Morgana. This matchup is essentially going to be impossible for you to win until level 6, but you can just farm the lane for free. She's not going to really poke you out too hard. Her W tickles, if anything. It's just used to clear the wave really quickly. She might try to throw some Qs when you're under tower, and you can't really do anything about it. Trying to gank a Morgana is almost impossible as well, because 1 point in Spell Shield will make her immune to all forms of crowd control from your jungler, and your Q slow. So just really try to farm up until 6. Once you hit level 6, you can easily, if you can dodge her Q, then you can ult on top of her, and then if she tries to ult in response, you can just press E, leave the tether range, and then fly right back into her and absolutely decimate her. Next up, we have Nasus. If you're going against a Nasus, it's very important that you put the pressure at 100% at every stage of the game. Other than just asking a jungler to gank non-stop, you want to be trying to poke him out as much as possible with Qs and autos and Es and autos, and every last combo we talked about in the combos guide, the the combo guide, the early game, mid game. The only thing you have to be worried about is his slow, and if he does slow you, you can instantly E out or go into your shroud and then run away and wait it out. But he can't really ever trade with you. He is always going to try and just last hit and stack up his Q. So you have infinite range to try and poke him out. And he's probably going to go teleport. He's probably going to go for a Adorn shield. So it won't do that much. But eventually it will do a substantial amount of damage. Especially once you're level 4 and you have 2 points in your Q, 1 point in your E. A lot of Nasuses don't take Akali seriously because they're pretty tanky. His passive heals him. And with that to your advantage, if you ever build up a big wave by being aggressive and then it crashes under his tower and then eventually it re-pushes towards yours, if he's ever not completely under his tower, you can run him down level 4 and beyond. Nothing changes at level 6. In fact, it just gets easier. There's really no stage in the game in which you can't kill Nasus until 3 items, but you know, this is a matchups guide for laning, not the entire game. Next up, we have Neeko. Try your best to avoid taking hits from her E. Her E is going to absolutely decimate you because it's going to follow up with you getting hit by 2 or 3 pulses of her Q. So it's imperative, it's extremely important that you do not get hit by her E. What you can do to avoid that is stay extremely far away. But here's the thing though, I think this is important to mention. It's okay if you get hit by 1 EQ combo because you have 100% health for a reason, right? In reality, her EQ around level 2, level 3, level 4, it's only going to do like 25-30% of your health. As long as you don't keep taking those, like, you don't want to miss every single minion because your potions aren't just there to kill the enemy, they're there to help you. So you'll inevitably take some EQs if you're trying to get minions, and you do want to farm up for level 6. Just try not to get too low. And if you're running low on potions pretty early on, then start readjusting how you're playing the lane. Start sacrificing more minions in the name of not having to recall. Because here's the thing, here's the bottom line. You want to get as many minions as you can for level 6 without having to recall before you hit 6. Because if she pokes you out to the point where you have to recall early, that's how you know you've done a bad job. If you can get as many minions as possible and say you have to recall at half health around the time you're hitting 6, but at least you got a lot of minions and you're out of potions and you did a decent job, that's good enough, because now you're level 6, you're coming back into this Neeko versus Akali matchup, you can destroy her. Her W may be a little tricky, it's a 50-50 a lot of the time because Neekos are so tricky. There's only a few of them and they know what they're doing for the most part. Very unpopular champion, but just try your best to, I guess, just get the right one, because when she presses W and they both run in different directions, good luck. Next up we have Olaf. Okay, all right, next up guys, we have Olaf. You shouldn't really be going against Olaf too often. I was struggling because a lot of these are just junglers, but you shouldn't be going against Olaf too much. But when you do, you can absolutely play aggressive, because the thing is, Olaf has to pick up his axe to try and do damage, and if he throws his axe towards you, usually you're going to be somewhere next to or behind your minion wave, which means that when he runs up to pick up his axe, you can easily hit him with an E. You can passive proc, fly in again, and then instantly go into Shroud. All the combos we always talk about. The Olaf matchup isn't too complicated, but it is the same thing as going against a Darius, in that if you get caught out by an Olaf Q, that slow is pretty strong. If you get caught out by that halfway into the lane without your E or your W, he is going to run you down, and there's nothing you can do about it. You're going to have to flash, and if you don't have flash, you're going to die, and even if you do have flash, you might still die. So just be very careful to not let him best you when you do not have cooldowns up. Other than that, if you can hit level 6 just by passively playing the lane out, it's a guaranteed kill, because Olaf literally has nothing he can do to survive your gank. He's not tanky, he's got no escape. It's a genuine free kill. So if you want to take the free win, maybe just play till 6 and then kill him then. But I highly recommend you practice playing aggressive, because Olaf is a good matchup to do it in. It's a skill-based matchup that's in Akali's favor. Next up, we have Orianna. Now, she is going to try to poke you out, but she doesn't really do too much damage poking. Just don't run face first into her. In reality, there's nothing you can do to really win the lane until level 6, unless she lets you trade her at level 4. Usually Orianna's won't let you get in range to Q them. And if you try to even run towards the Orianna, she's going to hit you with her slow and chunk you out for a lot of damage. I would recommend waiting until 6, because at the end of the day, once you're on top of her, once you're able to get on top of her with your ult, then she has no escape. She's an immobile champion. You can absolutely take advantage of her at that point. Moving on, we have Ornn. Ornn is going to be a champion that deceivingly does a lot of damage, like it seems like most tanks do. A lot of damage that you wouldn't expect coming from a tank. The way you can play against an Ornn is to avoid getting hit by his knockup. He tries to summon that little pillar from the ground and then he dashes into it. That is a pretty wide AoE spread radius. If he ever does try to hit you with that combo, you need to E out of it. And honestly, if he's doing it with no enemy minions around, he just to dash into you, you can actually use that as an opportunity to not only use your E to avoid his little dash, his two-part combo, you can hit him with the E and then run him down from there. And that is going to help you as well, because if he has Aftershock and he doesn't get that damage, he doesn't get the Aftershock proc off of stunning you, then you can do a fair amount of burst before he autos you to stun you. I'm not too familiar with the Ornn matchup, to be honest, but I do know you will destroy him at 6. So if nothing else, if all else fails, you find yourself taking a lot of damage, then just play safe until 6, and then you can easily kill him. Next up, we have Pantheon. This is one of the very few matchups I might actually go for a Doran shield into, but you don't even need it, to be honest. It's just a matter of you have to survive until 6. You cannot play aggressive against Pantheon. He does way too much damage. If you jump into him, he's going to W you, do a bunch of bursts, and then Q you on the way out. It's actually quite brutal. This is one of the few matchups I would say don't even bother practicing playing aggressive because you're going to need all that health, the potions you have to just survive until 6. Yeah, this is the only matchup I would say, other than Kled and LeBlanc, don't even bother playing aggressive. Even LeBlanc I might play aggressive, but just Pantheon, stay safe till 6. Once you hit 6, his little one-sided invincibility shield won't help him because you're dashing all over him in different directions in a circle, all over the place, and then you can absolutely decimate him from that point. Next up, we have Poppy. Poppy is going to be a champion that is also surprisingly hard to kill because she is just very tanky. But the thing about Poppy is, if you can block her passive by running over the little ball that gives her a shield before she does, or if she does go for the ball, just back up and let the shield expire. If you do that and you're never next to a wall to let her stun you, you can definitely take slightly better trades than her. Her Q auto and her Q passive procs still allow her to do good damage. So you gotta keep that in mind, but you can definitely win the lane if you're aware of Poppy's shield and you're aware of getting knocked into walls by Poppy. Other than that, her W makes it very annoying to try and escape ganks from or try and jump her because it completely just negates out any form of like dash that's within the circle. So keep that in mind. You should still, if you're both level 6, it's going to be a little bit difficult because she's probably going to completely negate out your ult. So it's going to be a little hard to kill her, to be honest. But you should still try and try to wither her down at level 5. Because if she's half health when you jump her, it's going to be a lot harder for her to escape the gank, if nothing else. Or for her to escape your wrath, if nothing else. Next up, we have Qiyana. Qiyana is going to be a champion that you want to play aggressive in because it is a 50-50 skill matchup. I would say one of the closest matchups there is. If she tries to Q you, then you Q her and then you auto her. Akali wins level 1, and then level 2 she also wins with when Akali E's. If she tries to E, the bottom line is if Qiyana ever tries to press E, you follow it up with your own E and you completely counter it out. The only thing she could really do to beat you in lane is to try and throw out a bunch of long range poke because her empowered Qs can hurt after a while, but it does cost a lot of her mana. And overall, another strategy you can do in this matchup is because Qiyana's last hits, her Qs, or empowered Qs, a lot of it is just a pretty massive AoE. You can try and make her push the wave into you and then just set up a freeze, and then she loses the wave. I like doing that because Qiyana isn't mobile. She has a little W she can dash backwards with, but unless there's a target between her and her tower, she can't really use her E to escape. So you can definitely zone off Qiyana as a champion pretty easily. Alright guys, next up we have Quinn. This champion isn't as difficult as you may think. Realistically, the only way he can try and harass you is by throwing his Q out, that big bird skill shot, which has a decent amount of ranged AoE explosion range. But to avoid that, you just need to dodge it, stay behind minions a little bit. You can't be right behind minions because it'll still hurt you, but stay a little bit further behind them. You can also try and use your E to jump away from it. Past that, all he has left is to jump you with his E, and at that point you should be able to follow up with a combo of your own if he gets in close range. Obviously you do not want to play aggressive towards him until around level 3 or 4 when the minion waves are evened out and you have 1 point in each spell. Take the lane pretty slowly. If you mess up against a Quinn, he will abuse you heavily, but anything past level 6 is an absolute stomp for Akali because his ult is meant to roam around. Your ult is meant to destroy a single target that is squishy. He is that target, so enjoy the free kills at level 6. Next up we have Renekton. This champion is going to completely depend on the Renekton player as to how difficult it's going to be. You need to keep track of what abilities he has at what levels. If he starts with E at level 1, that means that he may go for a stun at level 2 and he may go for a level 2 cheese, dash through the minions and stun you and do a ton of damage. However, most Renektons play it safe. They start with Q at level 1 and therefore you know he can't do any major damage until he hits level 3, so you can actually play aggressive during the first few levels. All in all, this matchup it's really hard to give tips towards, but if I had to give tips, just keep track of what spells he has and what point. If he does try to dash into you, you can use your E as a response, and then when he tries to dash up to you, you actually hit him with the mark. He's not able to hit his stun. If he does try to get into range of stun and you're not able to dash through, or maybe you just would rather use your shroud, the second he gets in range to stun you, press your shroud and then run up or down a little bit somewhere he's not, and then hit him with the Q, and then that way you'll be able to hurt him while his stun is active, but he's not going to be able to get in range to stun you. Past that, level 6 Akali does win as well. Just have to try to be full health and have a little bit of room to work with. Maybe freeze the wave under your tower or close to it. Just give yourself some room to work with. Renekton will fall, especially if you go back before 6 and get a little bit of extra damage. Next up, we have Rengar. This champion is extremely cheesy to go against, and all you really need to know for this matchup is stay away from brushes. If you know how Rengar works, then you know that he gets a little bit, well, 1 out of 5 Fury stacks for every single time he jumps from a brush to a minion. And at that point, he can actually jump on you and then Q you and do an empowered Q, and it's a crazy amount of burst. And he has a lot of cheesy kill potential, but as long as you stay away from the brushes, sometimes you're gonna have to miss minions because of it. But once you hit level 4 and level 6, those are your best chances to kill Rengar. Simply put, he is just way too strong, levels 1 through 3, and you have no chance during those levels. You have such no chance that you need to give up farm. Next up, we have Riven. Riven is going to be pretty difficult for Akali if Riven knows what she's doing. Luckily, if you're watching this, you're probably not Diamond or better, and Rivens have no clue what they're doing. So, with that in mind, just practice playing aggressive in the lane. Every time she tries to jump up to you, or even run up to you, hit her with the Q, and if she dashes forward, at that point you can consider using your Shroud or your E, and then just trade accordingly. We went over all the combos in the early and mid game sections of the guide and the combos guide. Just hit her with all your best combos, and she can't really dash too far with each individual spell. So it'll be it won't be easy for you to hit your E, but it won't be too hard either. Highly recommend probably just saving your E for when she runs out of dashes. That would be the best way to do it. But then level 6 and beyond, if you're full health and she's full health, you can definitely win a 1v1, but this is going to be completely based off of who weakens the other person before the level 6 engage first. If you're weakened a little bit and she's not, she will win that fight, because simply put, she does a lot of damage too. Akali's not the only champion that does a lot of damage at level 6. Best of luck with this one. Next up, we have Rumble. This one's pretty straightforward. If he tries to flamethrower you during the first few levels of the lane, levels 1 through 3, just back up and to try to avoid taking his poke. If he tries to throw his harpoons at you, stay behind minions, and if he tries to run past those, then you can try to fight him at level 3, level 4, and beyond, but simply put, he will outtrade you during the first few levels of the lane. Past that, around level 4, you can start playing aggressive towards him, start fighting back, and the whole point of me saying fight back is it's under the assumption that you don't lose a lot of your health during the first 3 levels of the game, so don't get caught out going for a few minions and losing half of your health just over a few minions in the first few levels. Just sacrifice a few until you hit level 4, then you can start winning the lane and even go for that kill. Level 6, it gets even easier. Although Rumble's ult is big and scary, Akali executes champions and it does a lot more than Rumble's ult in a 1 versus 1. Next up, we have Ryze. This champion is extremely painful to deal with in the first few levels as well. You need to definitely be careful about him spreading his E and then throwing out his Q and doing 120 damage to you at level 2. It is very oppressive and the poke can add up very quickly, so just stay away from your minions. He's going to try his best to poke you out, but in reality, what usually ends up happening is Ryze just shoves the wave really quickly, ends up being under your tower trying to poke you, and then he has no escape and he ends up getting ganked. Be sure to be actively asking your jungler for a gank versus Ryze, because the way he plays out is he naturally pushes the wave very quickly, and that leads to you being under your tower, leads to him being overextended, and what you can do is actually E backwards towards him, hit him with the tip of your Q, slow him out, and then just kill him with your jungler. If nothing, he uses flash, and then the lane becomes a free farm until you hit level 6. Then his flash will still be down, and you can kill him at that point. Next up, we have Set. This is a matchup you need to be so incredibly careful in because he does the cheesiest amount of damage against Akali, and there's not a lot you can do, especially in the first few levels. Level 2, if you don't have Shroud, you will get hit by his E. He'll auto you twice while you're slowed by his E, and then he'll double Q you, and you'll lose half of your health, if not more. With that in mind, level 1, just try to farm it out. You can throw your Q out. If he tries to Q you can back up, and he has nothing else to follow with. Level 2, be very, very careful about his cheese. You can go for a Shroud level 2 just for this matchup if you want. You don't need it though. I would probably recommend going E level 2 and just throwing out your E to help you last hit. Once you hit level 4, then you can start playing aggressive again, but be very careful if you get caught even at level 4 without your Shroud or your E. Halfway into the lane, he will zone you off the entire time your cooldowns are down, or worse, he will either kill you or make you have to recall. Level 6 is a lot easier though versus Set. He does have that shield, but Akali has a million different ways to get rid of dodge or whatever the crazy damage his W provides. Okay, so you should be able to pretty much kill Set at 6 guaranteed because he doesn't have an escape, and you should be able to outplay him with your Shroud if you use all the combos we mentioned in the early and mid game section of the video and the combo guide. Next up, we have Shen. Shen is very easy to abuse in lane because, simply put, he only wins a few matchups, so just try to play as aggressive as possible. Be wary of him taunting you into a minion wave. That's about the only way he can win 1 versus 1. He will try to block out your passive proc, sometimes 2, but even if he does that, you can just press your E and fly right back out. It's a very straightforward matchup at level 6. You win and he doesn't. Also, if he tries to ult, a little side fun tip for you. If he tries to ult to bot lane, if you hit him with your E, you can actually take the free ride all the way to bot lane. It's something that you should probably actively be looking for once you hit 6, because you never know when he might try to ult bot lane in the middle of just being laning. Next up, we have Singed. Honestly, there's not too much you can do against him perma pushing you as Akali, but you can break even with him in farm until around level 4. If he's playing the lane and he's not proxying, then you can definitely play aggressive at 4, just because he has that W that makes it so you can't jump. Doesn't mean you can't just go into your Shroud and avoid getting flung. He's not tanky, so while he is running into you and being aggressive, it's almost like he's faking you out, he's bullying you. You can play aggressive back, and the same thing goes for level 6. Try to weaken Singed if you're laning against him around level 5, and then start using your potions, because if he's around 70-80% health by the time you hit 6, you guys both hit 6, it's going to make it almost guaranteed you kill him unless you seriously mess up in the lane. Next up, we have Sion. Sion is very straightforward in how you lane against him. He's going to try and charge up Qs, and you need to not be in the Qs when they're fully charged. Other than that, he's going to throw random E pokes out there, and if you try and trade him, he's going to press W. You can easily win the lane if you take it very slowly, especially when he uses his spells. They have pretty high cooldowns, so you can look to take small leads here and there by zoning him off of minions when he has no cooldowns, or if he doesn't respect you while he has no cooldowns, then you can weaken him out and eventually maybe kill him in the lane. Those are the two options though. Level 6, it is also very easy to kill Sion. You just have to jump right in. There's nothing you can do about it. He might try to ult away, but you have to do your best to try and block him, block his ult directly so he can't just fly right out. Next up, we have Swain. Swain is going to be a champion that is going to try and look to poke you in the first few levels, but in reality, he doesn't really do too much damage in the early game with his poke. You can definitely just take the poke, try not to get autoed over and over again, but even his auto attacks don't do that much. So what I would say for the Swain lane is to just be careful. You can't really run up to him and try and hurt him, because if you run up to him, he's going to hit you with an E, W, and a Q combo. And a Q to the face can do a lot of damage. I would recommend just playing the lane safe and straightforward until level 4. And and then maybe look to go aggressive if he uses his cooldowns before then. But once you hit level 4, then you can start bumping up the pressure, the aggression, try to start weakening him, take even trades around level 4, and then look to kill him once you hit level 6. Next up we have Sylas. Sylas is a champion that is very good against Akali in almost every way possible. He can trade with you, he can out-sustain you in close fights, he kills you with his healing, and he steals your ultimate and becomes a better version of you in a lot of ways. Just look to be aggressive versus Sylas because he's not unkillable, but at the same time know that he has the lead, the upper hand in the lane. If you're not able to act and react very quickly in fights where he dashes to the right of your minions, so you need to jump up left to get to have your minions block his E. It's a very fast-paced fight. You'll blink. You can't blink in this matchup. Otherwise, you're gonna end up losing half of your health versus Sylas, and he might end up killing you. Keep that in mind. I would recommend playing aggressive though, because you can still kill him if you are the better player, and it's all about getting to be the better player. Next up, we have Syndra. A lot of people ask me, how do I beat Syndra? She just pokes me out all the time. Well, simply put, you just have to try and fake out last hitting minions to wear down her Q mana. She's going to keep trying to throw Qs when you go up to last hit. So with that in mind, all you have to do is run up, pretend to last hit a minion, and then back up right before you would be getting in range to auto attack, because that's exactly when Syndra's going to try and throw her Q. Another thing you can do is stay out of range of her spells until it's time to go for last hits. She's not always going to be looking to last hit you. If she does run up past your minions, then you can actually fight her back because your minions will help you. You can throw your E if she is past her minions and then connect your E. She's never really going to get past her wave. She's just going to try and last hit you and deny you off of the melee minions for the most part. But with that in mind, around level 3 and 4, you can use your Shroud to block out her stun or dodge her stun or W, and then you can actually kill her pretty easily because she's immobile, very squishy, and her cooldowns are kind of high. I don't know, I've actually found pretty easy success playing aggressive towards Syndra at level 3, and I would recommend you guys practice playing aggressive in this matchup as well. Next up we have Talon. Talon is going to look to Q you very close range, and he's also going to look to hit you with 2 parts of his W and then Q you to proc his passive. Basically, all you have to do in this lane is make it so you don't get hit by both parts of his W, so stay back a little bit. If he tries to throw out his W to poke you when you try and throw out your Q, just don't get hit by both parts, because if he flies in towards you with his Q at level 2, he is going to activate his passive, which is almost all of his kill potential in the first 5 levels of the game. But past that, you should be able to play aggressive towards him. Whenever his W is down, whenever his Q is down, you should be able to out-trade him. And even when he has those abilities up, if you play the lane right and you can wither him down until that point you're using your own potions to stay healthy, there's a certain point where he'll just be like 20% less health than you because you're out-trading him, to the point where he might go aggressive, but you'll have the lead. He jumps you and then you press your E, and then you jump in and do all the combos and mechanics we talked about in the early and mid-game stages of the guide, as well as the combo guide. You just practice everything you've learned, and you should be able to actually kill him pretty easily. He's pretty squishy. You go longsword, and you have a lot of damage in the early game. Next up, we have Teemo. Teemo is a lot easier to go against than you'd think. It's as simple as going against any other ranged champion that tries to harass you. You just have to respect the fact that he wins the first few levels of the game. Try to last hit with your spells during the first few levels. And then the thing about Teemo is whenever he runs past his minions to try and throw harass at you, you can use your E and fly in. Sure, in the middle of your E too, when you're flying towards him, he's going to blind you. But it's not an issue because you can just go into your Shroud, wait the blind out, and then beat the crap out of him, honestly. I have no better words for it. He's very squishy, he's immobile, he's got such a low health bar. You should be able to kill him relatively easy. And then, yeah, that's pretty much it. He's going to try and blind you. You need to wait it out in Shroud, respect the first few levels, and that's it. That's it for this lane. Next up, we have Trundle. Trundle is going to be pretty straightforward in the matchup. The only thing is he might try to pillar you while you have no Shroud up or no E up and try and all-in you at that point. If you can avoid that, you can avoid literally every potential of him killing you. The lane is very straightforward in that he usually starts Q level 1, you start Q, you can start taking good trades on him early game. Level 2, nothing really changes. You go E, he goes W, or he goes pillar. When your E is down, if you try to E him before he shows a second spell, then just respect the fact that he might have pillar. But without his W, he won't be able to really catch up to you either way. He might, but he'll take a lot of minion damage, and he might get like 1 or 2 autos off. And then yeah, level 6, you just jump him and absolutely just decimate him. Very easy. And that is it for that matchup. Next up, we have Tryndamere. This is a very, very easy matchup, but you have to be careful to not get cheesed by his Fury crit mechanic. If he has a full Fury bar and he spins on top of you and tries to get a bunch of autos off, you need to be ready. You need to always have your E ready or your Shroud ready to try and outplay him. The only way Tryndamere wins is if he spins on top of you and starts autoing you when your cooldowns are down. So whenever you do use your cooldowns, like your E and your W, stay very safe, out of his range to spin on top of you and start critting the crap out of you, because that is really, really the only way you can lose this matchup. At level 6, you can absolutely decimate him as well. You might, depending on the situation, you might not be able to kill him through his ultimate, but he'll have to recall. But you do have Ignite to use at the very last second as well, which can definitely help. If you time the Ignite right, at level 6, you should be able to get rid of most of his healing and kill him after his ult expires. Next up, we have Twisted Fate. Twisted Fate is a champion that has enough poke and enough range with his spells and wave clear that you are almost never going to be able to kill him early in the lane. But that doesn't mean you shouldn't try. You should only try though when he doesn't have his W ready, his blue, red, yellow card. Because at that point, if he does have his red card up or his blue card, he's gonna throw a card at you and then back up, and you're gonna keep getting chunked lower and lower, and he's gonna keep regenerating mana with his blue card right after. So keeping that in mind, I would only really play the lane aggressive and maybe try to zone off some minions, maybe try to go in for a trade when his W is down. Past that, you can follow him if he ever ults to bot lane. You can actually hit him with an E and then fly with him to bot lane, but that's pretty hard to do because you have to find him in the middle of him getting ready to ult. But yeah, other than that, I mean, you absolutely decimate him at level 6. At level 6, he doesn't really get to play the lane anymore if you don't shove the wave in. If you want to freeze the wave at 6 and force him to overextend, or just throw constant max range Qs to farm, there's no bad answer, right? Because you're going to be getting all the minions and he's going to be forced to just take what he can with his Q. But usually they're not monk, they're not Shaolin monks, they're not patient enough to just stay really far back and throw Qs. They will overextend, and at which point you can E backwards and then ult on top of them and just decimate the level 6 Twisted Fate, because they're always squishy unless they go back and get a Ruby Crystal, but it's still doable at that point. Next up, we have Udyr. I never really go against Udyr top, so I'll only give advice on what I think I would be the best. Probably just don't play aggressive at level 2 unless your Shroud or E are up. I would not waste your E or W on trying to harass the Udyr, because if he is level 2 and you don't have your defensive spell, your Shroud or your E, he is going to run you down with his bear form and then tiger form and pretty much take out your entire health bar within 5 seconds. So just be very careful about that. But with that said, Akali thrives on destroying immobile champions. So as long as you space properly, you don't get caught in the bear form, the bear stun, and then hit by his tiger form, crazy damage. It's a very easy lane. I know, I guarantee you could win this lane extremely easily if you don't get hit by a stun. Just always have a solution to a stun, whether it be spacing far away enough and then shrouding if he gets too close, or dashing backwards, something like that. Level 6, you know, he has no ultimate. It gets even easier. Next up, we have Urgot. Urgot is going to try his best to poke you out with his little bomb, his nonsense, and then essentially what he's going to do is he's going to try and wither you out with his spells until you're about 80-70% health, and then he's going to try and jump on you and hit you with his machine gun. You just have to be very careful about dodging his flip, because he's going to charge into you and try and flip you, and if he flips you, it's going to lead into a ton of damage. You're not always going to be able to dodge out his poke because it's a pretty fast explosion, and it's got a pretty decent range. It's all about just dodging the flip, to be honest. But other than that, it's a pretty straightforward lane. You don't really do enough damage. Urgot's too tanky to really take him on pre-6. But once you hit level 6, you can definitely kill him. Assuming he doesn't have a lead, assuming you're both equal health, you can definitely kill him at that point. So what I would recommend is just staying safe and not playing aggressive until then. Just farm it out. Obviously, if he tries to go in to trade you past your minions, then you do have to trade back, because simply put, there's no reason for you to let him zone you off. You can definitely trade back. It's just, that's his decision to make if he wants to overextend and take a bunch of minion damage. Next up, we have Vayne. Very straightforward matchup. She is going to try and bully you levels 1 and 2. You have to let her do that. Level 3 though, she's a very short range champion. You can definitely use your Q into your Shroud and just try and hit her with a bunch of passive rocks and Qs, and then fly out and then wait for your cooldowns to come back up. She might try and zone you off while your cooldowns are down, but that's just a part of the lane. Vayne versus Akali is actually very easy to win because of her short range, letting Akali be able to hit her Qs onto Vayne pretty easily. Not to mention, level 6, it just gets easier. If you go against a Vayne top, as long as you don't mess up, she can't run you down. The only way you can mess up this lane is by not having your Shroud available, and she just runs you down. Because, what are you going to do melee versus range without an escape or a defensive tool? And then that's pretty much it. Next up, we have Veigar. This champion is very straightforward in how you can beat him. All you have to do is stay back when he tries to Q last hit minions to stack up his passive, because he's going to try and hit last hit minions with his Q to build up AP from his passive. You just don't want to be caught in the middle of it, because his Q can hit 2 things instead of just 1. He might try to last hit a minion and then have it go through the minion and hit you, which will, just poke you out and also give him AP. But past that, level 1, that's all he's going to do. Level 2, he's going to probably go W and just continue to shove the wave in. Usually Veigars tend to just shove the wave in on the 2nd or 3rd wave, just let it build up and then crash into your tower. Once it hits level 3 or 4, because he's a pretty short range champion, you can easily force him to use a stun. You can jump onto him and try and run up to him and slow him. Usually if you E backwards and threaten to Q him, he's going to be forced to use a stun, which will give you a few seconds to zone him off of minions, which will give you a small lead in that way. But if he doesn't, you can also just completely destroy Veigar. Sometimes you can throw your Shroud out in the middle of his stun circle, and then he's going to be forced to try and predict where to throw his W, where to throw his Q. And as long as you know what you're doing as Akali, you basically always want to throw your Shroud out, and then the second you throw your Shroud and go invisible, you run just completely to the right or to the left. So they never expect it, honestly, and then they always miss their skill shots. But past that, you just want to let him do his thing, let him keep shoving you in until level 6, and then at that point, usually in these matchups, Veigar versus Akali, they tend to be under tower when Akali hits 6, and then you just jump him, and even if he has a stun thing, there's nothing you can do about it. You can wait it out with your E, because usually you can just jump him with ult the second you hit 6, and then him with the E. He might stun you, but you can just take the stun and then fly in with your E2 and just pop him. But overall, you can take it one step at a time depending on the game. Next up, we have Vel'Koz. He is a very difficult champion to go against if you're against a Vel'Koz main, because they are going to try their best to poke you out in the lane. It is definitely what Vel'Koz succeeds in, other than killing you from a mile away at level 6. But the thing is, Vel'Koz is very squishy, and he does have some form of natural wave shoving, just because his spells that he tries to poke you with will end up hitting minions as well. So you'll end up being under your tower soon enough. You'll have the opportunity to farm safely under your tower for the most part. He might try to poke you out, but at that point you should definitely ask for a jungler gank. But jungler ganks aside, just try and farm your best under your tower, and then around level 4, he is a very immobile and very, very squishy champion. So look for an opportunity to kill him. Maybe if he goes a little bit too close to you, you can E backwards and then Q him, hit the slow, and just run him down like any other matchup you'd ever have. And hopefully you can dodge out his E, because if you don't, you're going to take a lot of damage. But I mean, his E is a very slow skill shot. As long as you're very active in the lane, maybe you drink some coffee so you got that quick reaction time, you should be able to beat him out. You should be able to never really get hit by his E and play aggressive. But also another thing is level 6, don't underestimate his damage. If he hits you with a Q and you're at like 50% health or 40% health, he can literally wipe out your entire health bar with his ult, proccing his passive over and over again. He does deceivingly a lot of damage at level 6, so just be careful about that. Next up, we have Victor. Victor is almost very hilariously easy to go against because of he just seems like he would do so much with his poke. In reality, he just does not do that much. Obviously, you can't run up to him and start auto-attacking him because he will Q auto you, he'll laser you, but really he doesn't do that much damage. He's very immobile, he's very squishy. This is a matchup that you should be able to win at level 4 every single time. Not to mention, once you hit level 6, it's almost impossible for him to stun you with his stun circle gravity thingy, because you have to be in his circle to get stunned for like over a second, I believe. Akali dashes all over the place. You're never going to be in that stun circle for more than a second. So keeping all that stuff in mind, it's a very, very easy matchup for Akali to abuse. You just have to take the initiative to be aggressive and don't get chunked out for no reason. Don't go for one minion and end up taking 25% of your health with his Q auto E. Just pick your fights correctly and you'll always win this matchup. Next up, we have Vladimir. Vladimir is very interesting as well because I think a lot of people don't think you can play aggressive towards Vlad, when in reality, he doesn't heal as much as you'd think. And in fact, his empowered Q is really the only thing that he can use to trade back with you. If he goes Dark Seal, refillable, and he goes for Ignite, for example, it's actually really easy to kill Vlad at level 3 and 4. Once you have 1 point in each spell, you literally just have to be careful about his empowered Q, that little Fury bar that builds up to 100, and he just does a ton of burst then. Other than that, I mean, you should be able to win every single trade and start weakening him and withering him down. You've got 3 potions, you're playing Akali versus a squishy mage. Keep that in mind and you can destroy him. Nothing changes post 6, he's very easy to beat. You want to abuse Vladimir as much as possible from levels 3 until around level 14, 15, 16 when he starts getting to late game and he becomes really, really powerful. Next up we have Wukong. The other 2 champions don't matter. Next up we have Wukong. So Wukong is recently, as I'm making this video, becoming popular and strong, and I think what I would say against Wukong is you need to always save your E for when he dashes onto you, but other than that, you can definitely play aggressive at level 2 and 3. He doesn't really do that much damage anymore with his spells, so you can actually trade him. He's pretty squishy for a bruiser, I would say. Just practice playing aggressive in this lane. Your Shroud should be used for when he tries to dash on you as well if your E is not up or you're not able to use your E. But other than that, I mean, you out-trade him. Your combo versus his combo should do more starting around level 4. The only thing I would say is be careful about wasting all of your spells on his clone. Always keep in mind the fact that he could use his W, because you don't want to end up using your Q, your E, or your passive proc on Wukong's clone, because that will absolutely make the difference. It can make the difference between him winning that trade or you winning that trade, or even him killing you versus you killing him. I don't have too much advice on this matchup because I've rarely played it, but I do think that is some solid advice for sure. Next up, we have Xerath. People always struggle with this matchup, but in reality, it is as simple as this. Xerath either has to choose between hitting you with his spells, his empowered or his long-range Q, or shoving the wave in. Usually Xerath will choose to Q the wave, or he'll try to Q the wave and you at the same time. The way you can avoid getting hit at the same time as the wave would be to not let him make a line between you, him, and the minions, because if he can hit you and the minions at the same time, that's a big win for him. He wants to shove you in, he wants to poke you under tower, and you just can't let him. You have to You have to always be staying away from on the sideline of the minions, stay to the side of the minions, zigzag up, back and forth, and then switch up your patterns. Hopefully he misses. But even if you don't miss his skill shots, if he just hits you with Q, it doesn't really do that much damage. The problem is if you get hit by them constantly, non-stop, no chance to regenerate your health. The problem is if you get hit by his stun and his W, realistically you should never be in range or able to get hit by a stun unless you're under tower. If you do get hit by that, you're doing something very wrong, I would say. Past that, once you hit level 6 or level 4 even, you can definitely try and bait out his stun by running towards him and then sidestepping his stun, and then you can continue the aggression towards him. You can kill Xerath if you outplay them at level 4, level 5, or you can straight up just ult them at level 6, and it's relatively easy to kill them, but you do have to be careful about the stun and their barrier. Usually they have barrier. But yeah, it's a pretty straightforward matchup, I would say. Not as difficult as you might think. Next up, we have Yasuo. A lot of people struggle with this matchup, when in reality, it's extremely easy for Akali to win. Level 1, you can go break even with Yasuo, but he's definitely going to shove the wave harder, which is going to lead into the next point, which is level 2 Yasuo will absolutely decimate you if he hits level 2 while you're level 1. He's going to end up dashing through minions and then dashing onto you and hitting you with a flurry of auto attacks and Qs, and you don't want that to happen because that's going to slow down your ability to win the lane. You have to use more potions. You can still win the lane if that happens, but the point is, level 1, it's break even, Yasuo versus Akali. Level 2, let him just take that. Let him have the level 2. Level 3 is when you can start playing aggressive with each spell. If he dashes in, or even if he doesn't, you can basically you can Q him and try and auto him. If he dashes onto you, then you can just press E onto him instantly as a response, and then overall you just absolutely can play aggressive the entire lane, usually because he has to dash into the wave and you can just bully champions that are melee range. It turns out to be a very easy matchup. The only problem is he can catch you out if you don't have your defensive spells. He can dash onto you and just beat you up. Sometimes if you're not good at dodging spells, he'll just keep hitting you with tornadoes and withering you down that way. But other than those two things, if you're careful, if you know how to dodge skill shots, then it is a very straightforward win for Akali. Next up, guys, we have Yorick. Yorick is a very straightforward champion because he really doesn't have any tricky spells to be careful about. Although if he does try to throw out his ghouls at you, you do need to shroud it or you'll take a ton of damage. But usually you shouldn't be getting hit by that ghoul skill shot anyways. You should be zigzagging throughout the lane and abusing your low movement speed boosts from your shroud and your passive. But yeah, if you do get hit by the ghouls, then try to run away or go invisible to completely just counter out his ghouls. Other than that, I mean, you just have to play aggressive throughout the lane. Starting at level 3, levels 1 and 2 you can play aggressive, but it's going to be a lot less rewarding because I think usually it's going to be break-even trades or in his favor. So I would probably just wait until level 3, level 4, wither him down from that point on until you hit level 6. You both have around the same amount of wave clear. Usually the lane turns out to being about in the midpoint. And then you can just jump him level 6, and then that should get you the kill. Next up, we have Zed. This matchup is particularly easy for a lot of reasons, but the most important one, guys, is that Zed's poke is usually going to be his Q, right? Unless he goes crazy and W-E's you. It's going to be coming from his Q, and his Q only does noticeable damage to the first target it hits. That means that if you're behind a minion, it's going to do reduced damage, and it's just not even going to, it's going to tickle you, and that means that his only tool to poke or trade back, for the most part, is now on cooldown, which means that you can zone him off of several minions while it has to come back up. Or if, even better, he uses it to last hit minions, the first wave, from the get-go. From level 1, you can play aggressive and zone him off the back 3 caster minions while he tries to Q the first 3. It's just so easy to abuse Zed in lane as Akali that you should absolutely be doing it. Level 2, nothing changes. He might go E, he might go W, doesn't really matter. If he goes E, then he can't jump onto you and try and hit you with long range Qs. If he goes W, then while that's down, you can absolutely just jump him with your E. Throughout the entire thing, Throughout the entire thing, it's very straightforward, easy to beat him. And then once he gets level 6, once you're both level 6, you can use your Shroud to make him probably miss all of his spells that when he ults you. And then if nothing else, he won't be able to auto you to increase the amount of damage his ult does. So there's a lot of tools that you can use to beat Zed. I also recommend going Zhonya's second item and completely making his existence pointless, because one little item counters Zed completely. Next up, we have Ziggs. For this matchup, just be extremely careful. Do not get hit by too many bombs. He's going to shove the wave naturally, and then he'll be under your tower, so you can ask for a gank for sure. But in general, he's just going to try and shove the wave and then look to go roam or something like that, or try and take your tower. This is going to be a very annoying matchup, but once you hit level 6, it's very easy to kill him. He is exceptionally squishy, and you can exceptionally farm his soul. You just have to be careful until level 4, level 6. You can definitely play aggressive once you're level 4, but in reality, he's probably going to just he's going to deny your attempts to jump onto him by throwing his W and then continue poking you. Next up, we have Zilean. Zilean is a very straightforward champion in that you know when and where his bombs are going to explode, the range on them, unless you've never played against him before, but we're going to go over the fundamentals. So Zilean pops his bomb only instantly if he throws one bomb on top of another. Then the first bomb will explode instantly, and it actually can do a decent amount of damage. But the thing is, no matter what, that is Zilean's only aggressive ability. He will not be able to poke you out in the lane, so I think it's kind of funny when Zilean's even try to be aggressive in lane. Other than that, you know, if he uses his Q, or if he misses, even if he doesn't, wait until level 3, wait until level 4, and start playing aggressive towards Zilean, because he is probably the squishiest champion in League of Legends, honestly, and very easy to kill. At level 6, he does get that ultimate, so you'll have to kill him 2 rounds in a row. But once you get a Gunblade, if you can't kill him before then, he simply can't survive your damage output. Even if he ults the first time, when you uses up your ult, you just do way too much damage. You can one-shot Zilean over and over again. And finally, guys, we have Zoe. Zoe is a very difficult champion for Akali to go against, but if you stay behind your minions, she can't hit you with her Q. You just need to also avoid getting hit by her sleep bubble by just knowing the range on it. It extends the range. The range of it extends if she throws it through walls and towers and stuff like that. So don't get cheesed by that as well. Just be very careful about getting hit by her long range Q, because that's going to poke you out. If you get hit by a single sleep bubble, you're in major trouble. So when she does inevitably shove the wave in, and she's going to try and hit you with a sleep bubble under your tower, you need to be very careful to make sure you use your E. Make sure you're staying so far back that you don't even get some minions, because if you get hit by a sleep bubble and then a max range Q, that's half your health, and it's not worth 2 or 3 minions. It's just not. And yeah, that is pretty much it. And now we have Lilia. So Lilia, you're not going to see too often, but obviously you are if you're on this video. So what you're going to want to do is pretty much just go for trades. When she goes in to run at you an auto and Q, you go in for a Q auto. Make sure you're trying to stay behind minions throughout the entire laning phase to make sure you don't get hit by her little bowling ball, because she can throw it over minions with a pretty relatively short range. But other than that, what you can do is if she tries to jump in with a W, it is very open. It's very obvious, and it's a very slow cast. So you can throw your E as she's throwing her W, assuming there are no minions in the way, or you know you're gonna not be hitting your E onto a minion. And that's essentially it. Lilia is a very straightforward matchup in that there is no tricky business. So you should be able to pretty much play the lane straightforward. Q her when she tries to Q auto you, going for your standard combos, and yeah. Next up we have Yone, or Yone. Anyways, what you want to do, guys, in this matchup is start off by playing aggressive by going in for Q's level 1. Going for your Q, but also right when you're running into range of his Q, make sure you sidestep a little bit, because his Q is very thin. It's very hard to hit it unless he directly throws his Q onto you. There's no room for error, so it's very easy to sidestep his Q. You're going to pretty much start off playing the lane aggressively throughout levels 1 through 6, throughout the entire game rather. And he might hit you with some W's, that's fine, it doesn't do that much damage, it gives her a shield. But if you run at the Yone and you try and Q him, you can hit him with the Q before he gets the shield off of his W. I've tested this 1v1ing the best Yone in the world. Other than that, basically when the Yone has his empowered Q, his tornado Q, it makes him dash forward. So knowing that, it's so easy to beat him because whenever he uses his Q forward, you use your E. So you end up flying back out of range of his knockup. You end up always hitting your E because he's dashing forward right into it. And then you can fly into him. And overall, this lane is extremely easy. Pump up the aggression, guys. You got this. Now we have Samira. If you're going against a Samira in lane, make sure you're playing relatively safe for the first few levels. She does a good amount of damage, and Akali can't really stick onto champions until she has at least 1 point in each of her abilities. I would recommend just playing the lane relatively straightforward until 6, unless you see openings to kill her. Other than that, the one thing that'll make it a little tricky to kill her at level 6, because it should be very easy, is if she uses her circular wind wall, the ability that blocks skill shots. It can mess up your R plus E combo, so make sure you use your ultimate. What I would recommend doing is once you're level 6, set up a freeze right outside of your tower, make the Samira overextend, and then from there, use your ultimate, give her a second. Don't use your combo right away with this matchup. Give her a second to use that cooldown, that wind wall cooldown, and the circle only lasts for like a second or two, and then once that's down, then I would do a different form of the combo. Maybe don't use your Q, or you know what, for this matchup, instead of using R plus E as your opener, use R plus Q and then take it from there. It should be relatively straightforward. Past that, it's very easy to just stay safe, hit level 6 and then kill her, and then you snowball, and then she's just an AD carry. She's another squishy AD carry to destroy in the lane. Have fun, guys. And now we have Ekko. This matchup is so easy once you get the hang of it, and I'm here to teach you guys obviously how to do it. Level 1, you can go in for a Q. If he throws his Q directly at you, you should be able to hit your Q as well. From that point, just run away, run to the side. Don't let him get both parts of his Q and his auto, because obviously that procs his passive, unless you're able to get several more damage off than him. But his Q has a very high cooldown, so you can break even when you both throw Q at each other and he doesn't get his passive proc, you don't get your passive proc. Then he's got a really high cooldown on his Q. You're bullying him if he ever tries to get a singular minion, and then you get to level 2. Level 2, he tries to dash onto you. It's very obvious because he winds it up and then he dashes on you. And then all you have to do is once he jumps on you, you instantly throw your E, then you get your passive proc, you use your passive proc, then you E again, and it is so easy to kill Ekko. It is my favorite and easiest matchup in my opinion. Other than that, some tips. Ekko's W is a pretty strong shield and a stun, and I would be careful if he tries to turn the corner out of the fog of war to make sure he doesn't throw out that W to try and, you know, make it so you don't see it coming until it's too late. But if you do get hit, if you find yourself in Ekko's circle, just press W and then he can't hurt you while you're stunned. It's very simple. There's not a single point where Akali loses. Just keep the aggression at 100% on this matchup. Make sure you're warding so you don't get ganked being super aggressive. But Ekko versus Akali is extremely Akali-sided, in my opinion. Next up, we have Taliyah. If you're playing against a Taliyah, you need to understand that she is relentless with her poke. She has some of the highest poke in the early game, so make sure you're staying behind minions. You're doing your standard gameplay versus ranged and poke mages, and just trying to get whatever CS you can. If she ends up overextending, or you're able to connect an E onto them, definitely take that trade. But just know that if you're ever gonna fly in towards a Taliyah, she is going to try and use that little mini pushback rock thing, and that can be worked around by using a combo at level 6, the standard R1 plus E1 combo, because, you know, she's probably gonna try and push you back the second you jump her. But if she does hold it, make sure you play around that. Don't fly in instantly with your E. Make sure you're running in zigzags while you're comboing her until she gets rid of that spell. But overall, killing Taliyah at level 6 should be no problem whatsoever. You can even get hit by the pushback, the knockback spell of Taliyah if you have your E connected to her, because you can just fly right back to her. The biggest thing I would recommend in this matchup is don't lose your health early. Just understand you can't run at her because she's just going to hit you with 1,000 rocks. And yeah, that should be the biggest thing. Now the next matchup we have is Camille. Camille's W slightly outranges Akali's Q, so keeping that in mind, for level 1 Camille versus Akali, I would recommend probably just letting her push you in, or just try not to get hit by the W. I don't think trading a Camille is the best move, because if she starts W, she's gonna heal up a lot and poke you out, and you can't really run up to a Camille very easily at level 1. You'd be running past minions to auto her with your passive either way. So level 1, I would recommend just trying to dodge her W. Now past that, Camille is very obvious in how she plays for the most part. She's gonna look to hit you with her E, grapple onto a wall and then fly at you, to hit you with a stun. So keeping that in mind, you can actually dodge out her E pretty easily by holding onto your E. You never have to get hit by the stun, her dashing stun, as long as you hold your E, because when she dashes onto the wall, she's obviously going to dash right onto you after. So then you can literally just throw your E out wherever she dashes to, and then she's gonna fly at you, but she's gonna miss you with the stun, and then you hit your E and you can fly at her. Other than that, general tips would be your W is a direct counter to her ultimate, so I would recommend using that to your advantage. She might be a little bit tanky, she might heal up a little bit, just being Camille, so take it slowly and try to wither her down with small good trades. All landing her is kind of hard because she gets a good amount of movement speed and she can do a good amount of burst true damage. So small trades would be the way to go before she's able to get her true damage off. And other than that, it should be relatively straightforward if you take everything I said into consideration. Next up, we have top lane Hecarim. If you're going against a Hecarim, you should know that at all stages of the lane, Akali outranges him. Akali does more damage in trades, and it is a very straightforward lane. The only way you will lose to a lane Hecarim is if you don't have your cooldowns up. Say you use your Q to last hit minions and you have no energy left to use your Q and trade. Hecarim will run at you and just combo you out and take a really good trade in that regard. And trust me when I say they'll always take that advantage, because if they're playing Hecarim lane, they know what they're doing. No one just does it randomly. They're usually one tricks. So keep that in mind. If Hecarim runs at you to dash onto you, then it's a pretty straightforward E as well. You can throw your E at them. And overall, it's very easy. Just don't get caught with your hand in the cookie jar. Don't use your cooldowns on minions, and respect the Hecarim. If you miss your E onto him trying to play aggressive, don't let him run you down, and because he'll keep autoing and queuing you and autoing and queuing you, and without your E, he's gonna do a little bit of a better trade, and then he has a lot of burst at 6. But if it's 100% health Akali versus 100% health Hecarim at level 6, Akali wins that very, very straightforward. And next up, guys, we have the Volibear rework. To the best of my ability, I'm going to try and help you guys figure this lane out, but I would say that it's a pretty safe bet that Volibear is going to try and hit you with his circle, his long range circle that flies through the sky, by running into the brush and then trying to snipe you with it. If he hits you, he does damage. If he runs into it, he gets a shield. That's going to be his best bet for doing good trades onto you. But other than that, you don't have to be too worried about him beating you in trades. It's just a matter of never getting hit by that circle, because if he ever runs into you, as long as you have energy to trade back, you will take the better trade. If he tries to run up and Q you and W, stun you, as long as you Q him when he runs up to you and you hit him with the passive proc, You'll take even trades or better trades, so keep that in mind. He does become very tanky, and he is very good at setting up ganks for his jungler because he has a stun and I think the circle slows, but just keep that in mind. Make sure you're warding and you play the lane very straightforward. And now guys, we have the new Fiddlesticks. So this champion very much does well against Akali. I hate that that's the fact, but that is a fact. If you try and trade him, he's going to press his drain on the entire wave and heal up to full. If you try to fight him in Shroud, he's going to press his W, his drain, and it reveals Akali. And overall, this is a very difficult matchup to win by yourself. And I know this sounds crazy, you usually won't have a jungler, a good jungler, whatever you guys say in the comments, but this is a lane that Akali wins so hard by getting a gank, because the Fiddlesticks will always be shoving the wave by Wing the entire wave. He pushes the entire wave. He has no escape. He has a small fear. By like level 4 or level 3 he'll get it. So try to beg for a gank from your support, your top laner, your jungler, doesn't matter who. Other than that, try your best to stay safe in the lane. He can't do that much damage to you while you're farming minions, but if you try to engage on him, it's almost pointless. So keep that in mind and just try to kill him once you're level 6. Just enjoy the free farm lane. He's not even really like a poke mage. He doesn't do that much damage. So yeah, just farm it up. Alrighty guys, if you have made it this far, thank you so much for watching the video. I hope you guys really enjoyed, and just like last time, I would really like to know if you guys are able to climb with Akali. If you're seeing this video now and in a few months from now you go from bronze to gold, feel free to come back in the comments and let me know. I love reading about stuff like that. Be sure to leave a like on the video if you enjoyed, and be sure to subscribe for future content. There will be way more Akali guides and educational content in the future that can help you become a better player, so definitely stay tuned for that. But this should be a lot. So I hope you guys enjoyed and have a good rest of your day. Peace.